Hello and welcome to week number 7 of Titans Immortal League. Tonight, we dive into the final week of the regular season. The winner here makes it to the playoff, and the loser gets to find out what happens to the Forgotten Starters. The team in this best of 3 chopping block will, of course, be AES Nightshade, wrong team, versus Yippie, or Yip for short. I'm your casting cowboy, Korek, and of course, we have Aussie Uncolor with Shivum on production. Let's dive right in, my friends.
Hello. Hi. Yeah, no Jack today. He decided to go to work. That pesky Australian.
How dare he?
So
how dare he have a life?
We're joined by Core Jack here.
Core Jack.
Don't worry about that.
I like that.
Anyways, what's up? Hopefully everyone's having a great day. I myself am having a great day. A lot of stakes in this game. Is this going to be the battle for that 4th seed? Now, of course, this is kind of a head-to-head thing, so if it does come down to a tiebreaker, this match basically just fully determines who's going to be the 4th seed. So this match matters a whole lot. For playoff chances, it is week number 7, so we actually have one more week. We got, I think we have one more week. Would be odd to end on week 7, but maybe it is only week 7. Maybe you're correct. Maybe I'm wrong. It's fine. Anyways, as for the segment, I'm just going to do it today because Jack decided to bail on me. But that is prepared, so we are going to dive into that in just a second. And Korek is just going to be like the little passenger princess to this little segment. So
I'm going to nod approvingly.
So for today, we are going to be looking at the mid lane, kind of working our way through the roles. Now, first things first, champs to pick or ban Aurora, Cass, and Akali. I think Cass kind of needs no introduction whatsoever. Her nerfs definitely did not seem to hit her whatsoever in terms of like lowering her like power in the lane. the HP thing is kind of so minimal that she's just still able to put out so much damage. And as for the Akali, Akali kind of rising back up, especially because of blind pick Orianna. And a lot of you mid laners out there really like blind picking Orianna. So if you want to pick that, maybe think about banning Akali. But the champion we're going to highlight here in this part is Aurora, as Aurora actually has been doing incredibly well in Immortal so far. She's been picked 17 times and she has a 65% win rate. So, and she's got flex potential, although her top laning potential is definitely not that strong. It's still available to you. But her having that like high like that is something you can really pivot to, especially with these like double mage comps that are popping up more and more prevalently in the meta. Getting onto that backline can be really difficult because it's kind of hard when you're getting poked down 24/7. Well, Aurora has a role to kind of break that through. So pick Aurora. I think this champ's in a good spot right now. Although you do need to be mindful that she's not best in every game, but in most games she seems to be having success. Moving on, underrated mid laners. We have Hui, Syndra, and Victor. I know what you're thinking, Syndra. She's not really that underrated, right? I mean, she is, and the reason I'm going to tell you why she's underrated is because of her flex potential. If your APC can play, Syndra, which Pays pulled that out at MSI, you have this massive flex that you can kind of pivot. It also pairs well into the Orianna. And can play decently into other matchups like Rise, etc. So pick up Syndra. Hui, great into things like Galio, which might start popping back up because of double mage. Of course, the range, right? Victor needs no explanation. Victor's just in a great spot, although definitely not as many Victor players, or at least games played on Victor, although that definitely was like a game 2, game 3 kind of mage mid that you needed, or that were being picked up. And as for overall gameplay, mid-jungle support takeover, and what I mean by this is when you are playing double mage, this allows your support player to roam and get value across the map, and part of that is supports roaming mid and kind of, duking it out, 2v2 mid or 2v1 trying to kill the mid laner. But also, this unlocks roam potential for you to roam with your jungler and your support to try and take over the map on the longer lanes, right, earlier on in the game. Same can be said once you break down into the lane, or where you're split pushing, right, where you're splitting, trying to catch farm, etc. You can take over the side lane with the amount of kill threat you have, depending on the champion you're playing. So I think that's really important. Jack agrees with me. I did run this by. We worked on this together. So all of these opinions are opinions he has as well. So don't think it's just a one-sided thing. And Korak, great job nodding. And now, I think we're going to get right into the draft.
And kind of on the note to just double back to when we were talking about Hui, Syndra, and Victor, I did want to talk about that just briefly while we're going over into the next section. I really do like Hui and Victor. They're some of my favorite early picks. Not necessarily, they don't have to be blind picks or whatnot, but those are my champions where it's like if I've got a team that's going for those neutral objectives, those are my favorite mid champions to help facilitate specifically that. I've probably said it a million times, but I cannot overstate how many triple kills I've seen Hui pick up and how hard it is to go into a Victor that knows what they're doing into that mid lane, especially if you have control over a banana bush and you're sitting on red side.
Yeah, I mean, the thing as well is like Hui's range can make things really hard. He's got a lot of good pick potential. And also just potential zone control from Hui is pretty nice. You can put down your carpet, right? And then there's always that threat of half your team getting caught by his EE, which is really brutal on top of the carpet, right? They're going to take a lot of damage from that. But a lot of these champs kind of predicate on you having control. They're not great at walking forward. And that's why I had chips to pick being Aurora, because Aurora kind of breaks that mold to allow you to kind of get that backline access a little bit easier or if you don't necessarily have control, you can force something onto the back line to try and gain control for your team. Of course, Aurora's no stranger to one-shotting just about any backliner in the game at the moment. So hopefully, if you're an Aurora player, you can pick this to great success. And keep picking Cass. Champion is still great after her nerfs. MSI definitely proof of concept for that because they were playing on her nerf patch. So keep picking her. And as for the Akali, more of a ban in my opinion if you are looking to blind Orianna. I think that is incredibly strong, especially if you're playing against an Akali player. I think it's really smart to do. And even then, like if you blind pick Ori, they don't pick Akali. Akali still has phenomenal draft space that she can take up later into the series, as well as we are moving into like the end of the season, right? So you got to start thinking about best of fives as well. Like best of threes are closing up, right? So it's really important that you focus on kind of thinking about Fearless overall. Now, of course, the teams that are out, this doesn't really apply to you. But for these teams, this is essentially determining who is going 4 seed guaranteed. So really important important match, and hopefully they did their homework. As for why there's been a delay, just to fill you guys in, it seems like one of the players is dealing with some flooding. So hopefully if you at home are dealing with that, you're staying safe or not having to deal with it at all, because that is, as someone who has dealt with flooding in my past from hurricanes and things like that, definitely not a fun scenario to deal with. So hopefully you're staying safe, and I know Korak also probably has some experience with flooding as well.
I lived in Houston and I live in Texas, which is flat and next to the coast. So neither one of those are super great, considering we had a city, Galveston, that used to be bigger than Houston until a hurricane rolled over. And that was a whole lot of flooding. But to double back to your note, while we're waiting on the draft and we're building up to a couple of things, I kind of wanted to talk about Aurora and Akali, right? You mentioned a lot of really good points. And something I also wanted to go with, too, is oftentimes when you need a little bit of chaos, or you need someone to either thrive in a chaotic environment or to create a chaotic environment. When you look at champions like Aurora and you look at champions like Akali, they're specifically good at dealing with that. Their sort of movement and the placement, you've got Aurora's ultimate and, sort of like the one-shot damage that they can show up and just sort of like nuke someone. And then, of course, Akali doing a lot of the back and forward. Both of those are champions that I think can operate in sort of like this gray screen. I mean, one of them literally has a smoke screen that they throw down to operate in, which can make things very, very disorienting. And even if you know where they're at, it can still add that little bit of second guessiness, right? And I think it's one of the reasons why people like, for example, Nico can do really well. Nico thrives in a lot of these chaotic environments, or creating the chaotic environments. So that could be a good pairing with that one too. And you just mentioned that, we've got these AP season bottoms potentially, and we've got these other setups to allow the support to roam. So if you got someone like Nico, if you get like a Nico and Aurora, a Nico and a Kali, that can be quite the deadly combination. One of my personal favorites, though, that we don't see too often is I actually really like Nico, and I like Galio. I think that's such a great combination for it, because they're both good at setting each other up, and that allows the team to go in and do an insane amount of damage. I've been seeing a lot less, at least in my personal cast and what I've been consuming, I've been seeing a lot less of Nico, and I've barely seen any Akali really at all. For the most part, the big time I saw Akali over and over and over was actually in the top lane to deal specifically with Aatrox, which I'm assuming is still probably a thing-ish if you really need it. But I think they've switched more over to the mid lane. But I do think that's always something in the wheelhouse to go forward, because I think for the most part, the reason why that works is more specifically the kit and less so the damage.
Yeah. All right. Well, we beat that horse, I think, maybe a little bit too much. So we'll kind of switch our focus here to the teams, right? And talking about stakes here. Like I talked about previously twice now, this is incredibly important for both teams, is essentially deciding who's going on to playoffs and who's not. So I'm expecting a closer one today. Hopefully a 2-1. I love those kind of, honestly, I will say, to give some credit to whoever makes the decisions about what stream matches. I feel like we've had like pretty good stream matches throughout the entire split this season. Like, it's not like any throwaway games have really happened. It's always kind of been great, in my opinion, having great games, a lot of high stakes, and this is basically the highest stake there is, because you win, you're out, or you win, you're in, you lose, you're out. Of course, it would really be unfortunate if, that flooding issue does kind of make a team, unfortunately, not able to qualify into playoffs, but sometimes life just knows how to beat you at the worst possible times, unfortunately. But I'm expecting a closer one. I think that realistically, I think Team Yippie, I'm going to give the advantage to Team Yippie today. Literally just no reason, by the way. I think these teams are pretty evenly matched in terms of skill, but I got the vibes. Sometimes you just get the vibes. And the vibe for me today is Team Yippie edging this one out.
And speaking of how closely these teams are together, something I was looking at, unless my notes are just a little bit outdated, is 3 of these players are within 33 slots on the leaderboard in solo duo queue, which means they most certainly have ran into each other a couple of times, not just in the league, but just when they're putting some grind down, just when they're getting a couple of games in too. Because I think Hug Me is 1088, Scorp is 1112, and Dark Lord 70, I did not realize that was the name, is sitting at 1121. So each one of these are really, really close right between each other. Not to mention a lot of these players, as I'm sure a lot of you know, usually frequent a lot of the same communities. So even if they're not playing in Titan, they probably ran into each other too. So there's probably a good amount of history that we're interested in. It looks like, Aussie, finally, we're going to be able to get into a little bit of draft as the first couple of bands roll through.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, sometimes we have to stall. That's sometimes our job, and we did a great job at stalling.
That's not what
here.
we were doing.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking
about. Totally. Anyways, there's the Orianna ban. I think banning Ori is still a viable option as well. Definitely don't think that that it's a bad ban, but at the same time, I think when you're blue side, I think banning away Ori is not ideal, but we'll see how they utilize their first pick. Of course, first selection has not happened in Immortal yet. In my personal opinion, I'd really like to see that, like having the choice between getting first pick or second pick, or side select, right? I think that would be pretty interesting to kind of see how teams utilize that. So if you are out there watching and you are an Immortal player, vote for that if you think that's something you would enjoy as well. As the upcoming, because of course once this ends, there's always that rule book updates and things like that. Which is why the whole cap got moved up to 1200 LP, because that was voted upon and discussed by Titan staff. So we'll be the Mundo blind pick, which is not actually that great, especially in game number
not a fan.
1. There are a lot of things that can punish this champ, but at the same time, if for whatever reason Andromeda just do not pick a champ that can punish this pick, then it just becomes Thanos. Which, if you watched MSI, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you didn't, maybe you'll be treated to it, or I guess have the displeasure, depending on your opinion about champs like that are so extreme, I guess, in the draft. But I think the Ori pickup here is nice, pairs well against the J4 and the Victor. Of course, Spirit Rush. Been playing a bunch of League Classic, and Ori is so insane. Her healing is so disgusting. With Orb of Deception when you get that, when you get your passive stacked up. And we'll be the Shen. So Shen been kind of this counter pick almost to things like Camille. Camille support. Also really flexible. Can play that in the top lane as well, Korak, as now we're getting into the bans, and hey, look, 2 of the 3 mid laners are in this draft that we just talked about. So I did pretty good, I think. Pretty good on our key focus.
Yeah, no, I like the choices so far, and we've got our teams wrapping up. We've got Jarvan, Victor, and Shen set up there, so that's a lot of control to play with. That's a lot of stuns. That's a lot of cataclysms. That's a lot of controlling these neutral objectives. So far, looking at the 3 teammates that we have, and there's Caitlyn too, I think that if red side gives up a lot of these early objectives, I feel like they're not playing into their early sort of team comp. It won't necessarily cost them the game, but I do think that is one strength to play with. When we look at Yip as they begin to deploy more and more and more, they're a lot more freeform, with sort of the center point being Dr. Mundo, right? Dr. Mundo could walk up, could take a lot of these damage, could take a lot of these shots. Ezreal can pop around. We can set up fights and kills here with the Ahri. Bard can grab the stuns, and then of course we have Pantheon there, probably for the jungle. I'm assuming this is Dr. Mundo top, Pantheon in the jungle, but I have seen it reversed, and honestly, I think I prefer it reversed. I do not like Dr. Mundo, especially blind picked, but I don't know how Shin is supposed to play directly into Dr. Mundo. I haven't done top lane since season 3 or 4, so I'm a tiny bit out of date when it comes to specifically that matchup and how that's supposed to boil down to. The nicest part about Shin is he's got plenty of mobility, and I think we have, for our final support, we've got Zyra. So we've got a very large amount of area deny and area control. So when I look at these objectives, I really, really want red side to really, really harp on these. And I feel like Yip's strength is going to be sort of playing in this chaos, sort of playing in these pick and grabs right before objectives. So if we're able to grab a pick, and if we're able to grab someone out of position, Yip, I think, is in a good spot. But if red side gets in position beforehand, I think it's going to be very, very hard to dislodge them.
Yeah, I think so for Team Yippie, things I'm looking at are, I talked about like mid jungle support taking over the map. They were playing perfect champions to do that on, right? Bard, literally the prime roaming support in the entire game, right? Like that's exactly his identity. That's what he wants to do. Ahri, of course, has insane pick potential thanks to Charm, plus Spirit Rush being able to kind of get in range for that pick potential, and her damage is quite good as well. And then Pantheon utilizing the Grand Starfall plus point and click W, right, to get those stuns. There's a lot of potential for Team Yippie to just blow open this game out the gate. That Andromeda do need to keep their heads wrapped around, because if they falter for even a second, they're getting blown up and giving a lead over to Team Yippie, which is not something you want to do. Of course, Caitlyn does have that fall off period in the middle stages of the game, right, where she's great initially. She falls off until her crit chance starts to equalize again. She gets enough AD really to start like pumping out damage numbers. And for Victor, right, Victor pretty good, starts to scale up in the mid game, so they have a little bit of a bridge here. Curious about the Zyra though. I think the Zyra, this is in my mind is going to be very risky, as we're going to get onto the Rift.
I'm still a fan of it. I think it can work, but I think it has to work the same way you set up Maokai saplings. You need to get there sooner rather than later for these objectives, and I think that's going to be the biggest thing. So it's all going to be on positioning, and it's all going to be specifically on timing. Those are going to be pretty important ones. First ward down, and our game has begun. Game number 1 between Yip and, of course, sitting on red side, we've got not really a lot of action. It looks like Bard doing some shenanigans with his ADC, so Ezreal looking to sniff something out, as maybe we're going to get a little bit of action starting here. No, nothing just quite yet. And oh no, we've got streamer mode on. Double streamer mode.
How dare you? It's fine. It's okay. It happens. 80 carry versus 80 carry streamer mode. They just don't want to be called out, you know? Fair enough. You know what? Fair enough. You know, if you watch the broadcast, sometimes you get called out, so respect. Because at least it's consistent, right? It's not just one person has streamer mode. Both AD carries have streamer mode on, so that's going for them. Talking about this Mundo matchup now that we're looking at top lane. Shin can be kind of a lane bully, especially in matchups that he can hard punish, right? Taunting forward and then utilizing the Q. This is a matchup in which you can do that because Mundo is pretty weak early on, and that's usually why blind picking it is so dangerous. But the advantage for Mundo into the Shen is that the Shen, in theory, should not actually be able to pull out a kill as long as Hug Me on the Mundo is playing well, which should allow this Mundo to scale incredibly well into the mid game. And the potential of not dying this game, pretty high, because by the time the Mundo's coming online, that's when the Caitlyn's going to be her weakest. right? Victor still wanting more ability upgrades really to start getting going, so it's not like he's going to be a crazy threat, as Israel takes quite a bit of damage there, falls down to half HP, vying for that cannon minion.
Not quite as bad as the Ahri. Ahri's taking a lot of shots. This is kind of one of the things that's harder to play into Victor. Victor's not quite as bad as Orianna when it comes to just pure trade power, but he's pretty freaking close, in my opinion. I think Scorp is utilizing exactly that as Ezreal catches a whole bunch of damage in the bot lane. There's going to be a flash, there's going to be Ignite, but the same thing's going to happen to Caitlyn, because you cannot forget that the Bard still hits like a truck.
Yeah, interesting choice there. From the Ezreal, I mean, there's really no reason to play it that way, but burns both summoners, which is the disadvantage, and now look at the J4 on the minimap.
J4, indeed, looking to make something happen as we pick up a root right before that. There's the flag and drag and the first blood going over to red side. AES starting off strong, Ezreal struggling, and for Aussie and I particularly, this is a little devastating because we got to see quite a phenomenal Ezreal in our game number 1 of yesterday with Aegis.
Yeah, big factor as well is getting this Caitlyn snowballing. Fortunately, she's not able to pick up the kill there, but she gets the assist, right? And the pressure in the lane is still going to be in her favor. As, again, that whole trade from that Ezreal earlier just comes back to bite him. We were talking on the Aegis stream Tuesday, you and I, about how sometimes League is a game of very small margins that eventually add up to game losing scenarios. And this very well could have been one of them, of this Ezreal who wants to try and stay even, try to be decent in the on the weak side to allow the Bard to roam. Well, if you're dying like that because you take a really bad trade previously, burn both of your summoner spells, and then get dove, which is a great punish by Andromeda, it's really, really, really brutal for you to try and recover. But again, early game kills not the most meaningful, only a 600 gold TP.
Speaking of at least small leads, ooh, actually, we're getting a whole bunch of damage here on Ezreal. Already down to half HP once again. And keep in mind, we do not have Barrier, we do not have Flash, but we cannot underestimate the damage here for Bard. We do have Pantheon rotating, but Bard is completely out of mana. Probably not the best time for a fight, especially considering the fact that we do have Jarvan here once again. Bard over the wall, Ezreal backing up in time, so we got plenty of time to get out of that. Ward down on the other side of the wall. And something I want to mention is rotating back to here top, even though the CS lead is currently in Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo had to blow his TP first, so Shen should have the advantage here on the back. Should have a couple more items. So Caillou doing really, really well, I think, so far into these engagements. And honestly, I'm of the mindset that if Dr. Mundo is going even and he stays even, he's not where he's at. Because I still am of the impression that Dr. Mundo needs a health bar and Dr. Mundo needs a good amount of gold to stay ahead. And oftentimes an advantage in both of those, in my opinion. But we're going to see how that plays out because, like you said, about the time Dr. Mundo comes online, Caitlyn will be struggling, but it will be important for Dr. Mundo, specifically for Hug Me, to leverage specifically that. But that is going to be our first kill, our 0-1 further back, about 5 minutes on the clock. First Drake is up, and it looks like AES is going to try to go for it.
Yeah, utilizing the strength and priority generated off of the Caitlyn, especially after that kill, we're able to net a very early and quick break. So nice little Hextech Dragon going into their pockets there. Of course, Hextech Dragon, really nice base dragon, giving you attack speed and ability haste. Again, still minimal, but everything counts, especially for these two teams who are vying for control of that last playoff spot for Group A. Which, by the way, we gotta get like some naming conventions for the groups. You know, we need some like bangers coming out,
like Group 1.
Like Group 1, yeah, Group 1 and Group 2. Anyways, but yeah, I think Team Yippie, right, like, they're kind of on a massive back foot now. They're actually bleeding more gold since that kill. You can see the gold lead is now 700. And with this wave coming in, this is a huge wave. Caitlyn was denied 0 of that CS. So she got not only a free reset out of this, she's going to get every single minion here you know, especially, I was going to say, you know, as long as the CSing is great, but the CSing was great, because there were literally no minions, no tower interference there to mess up any of the waves, so CS that one perfectly, lands herself on 6-7 CS, but this Mundo has a pretty good lead in terms of CS himself, so maybe that'll be the equalizing factor, and we still can't sleep on Team Yippie's collapse potential on the side lane, or just pick potential in general. Should this Caitlyn, say, walk up maybe a little bit too far by themselves, or Rainy also going in to, unfortunately, go for a ward or something, gets picked out by Pantheon W. One downside of the Zyra is it's pretty immobile, very scary, and that's something Bard can punish incredibly well as well. So we'll see if Rainy Days can kind of keep that, can keep himself safe in this game, as Void Grubs also can be taken away.
We do go for the smite fight. Flag is down, and so is the drag. We're going to flash for the wall. Pantheon look for the kill, but here is going to be Shen. Double flash on the other side of the wall. Not the worst thing. Sure, Shen blew an ultimate, but I think it's better to be safe and sorry, especially starting early on. I think it's kind of embarrassing, in my opinion, to get killed over the Void Grubbies. I'm perfectly happy with giving up that objective in most cases, but I guess giving them Dr. Mundo can be pretty devastating, because, of course, Dr. Mundo push, and Dr. Mundo does not need help pushing, and the Void Grubbies do exactly that. But we do good. We get out. We don't die. We blow a couple objectives. There is going to be the Tempered Fate fight going to kick off. Looking for the damage there on the Caitlyn flash is good. There's going to be a Grand Starfall, but immediately into the stun of the 9. We're trying to buy plenty of time, but I don't think we have the damage. There is the kill as the spear rolls through. This Caitlyn is all but dead, soon to run into the Ahri, looking for the reinforcements on the other end. And yes, indeed, there's going to be a pounce and a double kill on the Pantheon. Rotation good. Yep, now back into this game, 2-1 at the 10-minute mark, Aussie.
Hey, I talked about the strength of the Bard, right, punishing out the immobile Zyra. Now, unfortunately for them, the Caitlyn also gets caught. But it's a great collapse from Team Yippie off of the back of that Grand Starfall, off of a reset Pantheon after the Void Grub scuffle there. Ends up netting them 2 kills and some control back into this bot lane that's desperately, or I guess sorely needed. As Fitz as well was kind of on the way. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of having that Pantheon take that second kill. But accelerated Pantheon, definitely not bad. And Mundo's just going to go say hello, bounce back.
Caillou not allowed to go back to his Void in his strange storytelling realm. Gonna start a fight here with Hug Me. Hug Me already taking a good chunk of damage, but we gotta remember we still have the ultimate out and ready to go. This is gonna be some free damage, but if Caillou's not careful, this could turn into a kill for Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo having to blow that ultimate, but once again, that's not the longest ultimate. You kind of figured it would be, but really is not. And stopping that back buys Dr. Mundo even more time to grab these plates, and he can go for another backstop once again if he really needs to. It does stop Caillou for the second time, which means Dr. Mundo is really doing a good job of mandating how this fight goes. He's controlling the tempo, absolutely. Doing a really good job, because he's not only up on CS, he's got a good number of plates, and I don't think Caillou has really been able to make it to the tower. He's hardly been able to make it back whatsoever, really in general. Dr. Mundo stopping his back twice. But now, seeing 11 minutes on the clock, next Drake is up and going. I've got to imagine that once again that AES is going to go for it, but not if we catch Caitlyn in a Tempered Fate. Double root on the side, another one that's a great ultimate, but the problem is Ezreal did not get caught in that TP rolling down. Flag and drag is good. Pantheon in trouble. Cataclysm on the other side. Lock it down 2. Go down. Looking for the third one. Another kill rolling through. Caitlyn doing a lot of damage. Picking up some early kills. 1-1-1 across the board. 2-4. And that is a free Drake.
Yeah, another Drake over to Andromeda here. And they punished this look onto the Caitlyn. Rainy Days hits a 2-man root, and then that's chained up with a trap from Caitlyn onto the Pantheon. Dark Lord doesn't utilize the Aegis Assault in time to block out really any damage. And at that point, this play is just too far gone. Teleport from Scorp down to the bot lane to net himself a kill. And of course, Dagu with some help there with the Cataclysm. Team Yippie punished for, honestly, what should have been, in my opinion, a fantastic play. They just couldn't get it done in time. And now they're staring down the barrel of A 1,500 gold lead, plus they just lost the second drink of the game, meaning Andromeda now looking for soul point in 4.5 minutes. Gank mid. Doesn't really find anything.
Over the wall. Really nothing too big happened there. Pantheon is floating around, but I don't think anything's really turned into this one. And something I wanted to point out too, and I kept trying to point it out right as action kept popping off, is that I think the onus is kind of on Team Yippie, right? I feel like they have to do a lot more compared to what AES does. I think AES has a lot more efficiency with their champions and with their team comp. It's a lot easier for them to make things happen, to where Yippie very much so has to be on the ball. They have to have a lot of good things working for them, which can work, but oftentimes that can be the killer of consistency, and consistency oftentimes is not only what makes the meta, but was what makes and breaks these matches. So I think that it's going to be an uphill battle for them, even if they are doing well. Just one or two slip-ups could be all it takes for AES to win, and the fact that they don't have an advantage makes things even harder going forward, Aussie.
Yeah, it's nice root in the bush. As Imtuo on a ward does not necessarily know that. Might know now, but
I'll get an idea.
Also could have maybe thought, oh, just, you know, they're looking in the bush with the plants. But regardless, that's a unfortunate base forced out from the Bard. Is now Bard looking to get back to bot lane. As look at where Dagu is. As nice true shot barrage, so no dive going to be possible here. Might catch Dagu, or might catch the Ezreal. We'll see. Pantheon's here as well, so this is a 3v3.
Looking to make something happen as there's going to be a flag and drag on top of the Bard. Bard going down so far. Cataclysm on 2 once again. Bard keeping himself just barely alive. Ezreal over the side of the Cataclysm. Flag and drag at least on the Pantheon. Pantheon's inviting himself some precious seconds. There's the snipe rolling through. Ezreal grabs the block, but it doesn't matter because the tower and the support both still go down. And if they're not careful, Ahri might run into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, I think realistically, ooh
fight
my
kicking
God.
off the top as Caillou gets so close to going down. The shield for the save along with the flash. Dr. Mundo really putting the hurt on this Shin. Soon this tower is going to be gone. So even though we lost a tower bot lane, we've got the macro from Hug Me, the macro from the Doctor.
Yeah, we'll be able to get a tower for himself, but now you see the bot lane rotated to the top.
Oh no. Caitlyn stepped too far forward. There's another support here. There's going to be the Grand Starfall rolling in. They still get the stun off right on the Caitlyn, but there's the Shin for the ultimate. That massive shield rolls through. Pantheon trying to buy himself some time, but he looks like he put himself on the dinner plate instead. Nice little kill there for one side. Should back off. I don't imagine we're going to grab this fight too much. A little pop there from the Charm, but just a little bit of a hello. Nothing too great. 2-6 right now is our score. 15.5 minutes on the clock, and now we're going to be chomping on a Shelly.
Yep. Pure rush mid. That's a dead Victor. Nice little shutdown gold going over to the Ahri. And as I was talking about, like, I wasn't really happy about the kills going on Pantheon. This is exactly why. Because he actually has to put himself in very susceptible territory against the enemy team's comp to really do anything. And when you're taking gold like that, the rest of your team is not actually, you know, able to benefit to try and be able to do that damage. But another criticism here for Team Yippie is they keep sending these plays, but I'd really like the Ahri to get active on the plays as well, because right now they just don't really have enough damage to really convert in time before there is a response from Andromeda. Which, well played to Andromeda, they've basically been in the right spots at the right time, like for a while now. But what a great play from Andromeda to turn around that top play. And now this Caitlyn has an IE at 16 minutes, which, you know, we talked about a weak mid game. I don't necessarily know if she's going to have a weak mid game anymore. She's pretty accelerated.
Something I do want to point out, too, that you brought up the fact that we have both Ahri and Pantheon, and oftentimes the reason why you grab Ahri and Pantheon at the same time is Ahri's a good facilitator for setting things up for Pantheon. A lot of people try to use Pantheon to go in, but I think Pantheon works best when the fight does kick off. Speaking of fight kicking off, the Dragon gonna fight. We do make the smite fight, but is it gonna be worth it? Cataclysm on 2, the damage rolling through, flag and drag on 1, so much red, very little blue, as player after player goes down. That's a 3-4-0 trade. Sure we got the Drake and bought ourselves 5 minutes, but we gave over 900 gold to the other team, and now we're going to start losing some towers.
Yeah, how about more than 900 gold because of that tower going down? We'll get another charge here.
Listen, numbers are hard.
So, more plate gold going into the pocket with this Caitlyn, who...
What a Caitlyn.
This is a...
5-1.
Yeah, this is turning into like a Midas situation here for the Caitlyn. As
Speaking of fight kicking off, Victor having to blow a flash, I believe. We didn't get to directly see that. Victor pretty low on mana. This should be a pretty easy kill for, I think, fights. I don't think we're going to get this. We still have a charm getting really, really close to going for. We really, really want this fight, but no way we pick up the root. No way we're just allowed to walk away. That's really frustrating for fights. That should have been their kill. And for me, as a support, because I think Bard started that fight off, I don't care, man. Like, you're behind, take that kill. Give your team gold, like, hover that. Like, do not assume any kill is going to be taken when you are behind. That's at least my philosophy for support. I know that's probably easier said than done, but I feel like Bard could have facilitated that. But at the same time, too, I feel like fights should have gotten that.
I mean, definitely had Charm Flash available, just opted not to utilize Flash, got stunned by the Gravity Well, right, or Gravity Field. Man, the fact that they changed all of his, like, ability names for zero reason, by the way, because of Arcane, is just... It's so frustrating. It is so...
I mean, I still call it Assault and Battery on Vi, so I feel that.
So frustrating. Well, to be fair, you know, to kind of give you some pushback, Cease and Desist got changed well before Arcane. So, but I do remember the time.
Yeah, but it doesn't sound as cool. Sounds like you sent a strongly worded letter, and that's not when I think of Vi. I mean, like, sure, she's got massive fist, and she could probably type really, really well, or really, really bad, depending on the, I guess, the size of the typewriter. But, like, I don't know, man. I don't want a strongly worded letter when it comes to ultimates.
Well, you know, for me, I feel like it's a little bit more fitting because, like, she's basically ceasing your ability to, like, play the game. Like, in my mind, like, the name makes more flavor sense than anything. But that's neither here nor there. Andromeda in a fantastic position here as they're still hanging around that 5k gold lead mark. Is this Caitlyn snowballing out of control here? And that Mundo we saw in that last team fight just did not have enough sustain to actually live. Great cage came out from Dagu in that fight to lock down the Mundo from causing any chaos in the backline. As Hugme just had to sit there, incredibly sad in the cage. So, was not really anything they could really do. But now has the Spirit Visage, so if you're Yippie, I guess you're looking towards your Mundo, right? Because Mundo can take over this game. But that window might have already closed. We'll see.
Pantheon trying to make something happen, going to run directly into Victor Scorp. Happy to take this fight. There's going to be the Cataclysm at least on one. No reason not to go for a free kill. Breathing is hard. Pantheon indeed going to go down relatively for free. Not sure why we were planning to be there. We didn't have a lot of support. And this really goes back to what I was saying with Yippie. I think that their team comp very much so relies on them being ahead. And when they are not ahead, they really, really struggle. And so when they're like this, there's even more weight, I think, on Dr. Mundo. As you were mentioning before, Dr. Mundo can run away with this game, but that makes the stress on him even harder. Dr. Mundo popping his passive, gonna run into that. Starting a fight here over on Baron. Plenty of people low. This could be a good opportunity to turn things around. That Baron buff is still pretty nasty. Speaking of, Dr. Mundo grabbing one kill, but it's only gonna support. That's gonna be a support for a top laner for that important Dr. Mundo. We do stop the Baron, which is not the worst thing. Honestly, losing in a 1-for-1 trade in order to stop Baron, I think we take those at this point in the game because when you are ahead, you do not want to trade, and that's exactly what they forced AES to do.
Yeah, really nice play there from Hugme. Unfortunately, gets taunted up before he was able to press his ult. I think there's like a real potential there for Yippie to try and find like an extended fight there had Hugme been able to pop the maximum dosage. Teleport unfortunately comes through to a dead tower, but it's 15 seconds away from the Drake. No flash on the Mundo. The Mundo does have teleport and did hold on to the ult. But as you look across the board, something that's missing from Andromeda is that Zyra ultimate, so which actually could be pretty impactful. We'll see if that is true or not. Now they're looking for some space here, but they're not going to find it very easily.
Vision War has begun. Dr. Mundo walking up, looking to maybe potentially get another kill. There's going to be at least the flag and drag. It does miss Dr. Mundo, but that damage still rolls through either way. Caitlyn hits like an absolute truck. We did start at least some damage on the Drake. Drake is going back and forth, but this is still AES's fight to lose. They have control over the banana bush. They're in really, really great positioning, and so far Dr. Mundo is pushing rather than going for this objective, and I don't really blame him. I don't think we're going to fight for this Drake. We're not going to win it. Now Dr. Mundo needs to get out of there after taking at least some good charm here on Scorp. Scorp only going down to half HP. Ari not really having the damage that they need here to facilitate any of this to happen. And at this point, I think that Yippie just needs to try to get their hands on whatever objectives they can. Bottom being one of them. There's going to be a Tempered Fate. This should turn into a kill. Oh no, we get caught in the banana bush. Pantheon once again in a bad position. Dark Lord is now going to be a dead Lord on top of the banana. Tempered Fate gank did not work on top of Scorp. Scorp still alive. And the Flag and Drag once again looking for a bit more of damage. Degu trying to get in, trying to close the distance. There's a Flag and Drag, there's a Cataclysm onto Flash on FYT, and as well as the bar. Dr. Mundo here for the rotation, but does he have the HP? Does his team have the follow-up? I do not think they do, but Hugby's still going to try to make something happen. A lot of action, a lot of abilities, a lot of flashes for a whole bunch of nothing, Aussie.
Yeah, I mean, Yippie, again, they just don't have the damage to close it out. Stand United comes in at the nick of time to save Scorp. And now Scorp gets a reset and TP's top, so it's just more gold in the victor's pocket. He got caught out in the side lane, bailed out by his top laner, then backs from that play, and immediately goes towards that top tower. Stun is coming through on the thing, but I think Scorp isn't... Oh, they're sending it.
There's the Grand Starfall, but once again, the rotation here for Dagu is really, really good. Scorp does go down about half HP once again, but it does not matter because his team is absolutely on top of it. Ezreal ultimate rolling through, but it's not going to do too much. Once again, Dark Lord tries to support his team. Things are almost set up, but I think that's way, way too aggressive. League of Legends, for the most part, punishes you for overextending and rewards you for great turnarounds, and I think Yippie continues to try to force these fights that they are at a disadvantage on. They need to start getting what wins they can, what guaranteed wins they can, and they need gold desperately because it's 42 to 47. Ezreal in a little bit of trouble, but there is going to be the phase. There's at least going to be... No! We hit the ward instead! That's a little devastating. Hannibal, the Flash Flag and Drag on the other side of the wall. Dr. Mundo is here, but there's going to be the Cataclysm. Somehow, we just barely make it out. I think that was a phase right there at the last minute, buying himself some precious seconds, but I know that Ezreal pucked up when he hit the ward instead of the plant.
For sure. Well, you know, I will give some credit for Dark Lord if he is taking like the inspired approach. Like when you're behind, you know, you're just gonna keep sending us. Hugby is in some danger here. That's the volt though.
There's going to be the maximum dosers. There is going to be the Cataclysm. There's going to be Tempered Fate, at least on 2. Might be able to provide plenty of much-needed space for Dr. Mundo. If we can keep making small little bitty plays like here with the Tempered Fates, I think these have been really, really nicely set up here for the support for Yippie. I think he's had great Tempered Fates. I think his team is set up a lot there for that, but the problem is we haven't had a lot of follow-up there with it. And then, granted, that was way more of a defensive ultimate, so that's not the worst thing. And now we're sort of entering this kind of awkward stage. This is kind of the area where you just basically want to try the best you can to not get caught. We're sitting at almost the 26-minute mark, 4 to 13 right now, looking for that Drake point as we step a little bit too close to the sun and get burned indeed. 1 minute and 30 seconds, so no objective to really play off of right now. We can't go for Baron. I don't think we have the strength even with that one down, so it's not the worst thing that Rainy ended up going down there, but it's not exactly good because that's going to be more gold in their pocket, and I think it went to Ari if I saw that correctly.
It did not. It actually went to Pantheon. Pantheon took it with the Q. Great champ at KS noobing. So, it was necessary. So it's not Dark Lord's fault, right? You need to try and secure the kill because if you give a window for Rainy to flash away, it was very
He's gonna
close.
do it. Yeah.
Right. Could have lived there. So, but another unfortunate case of, man, I really wish I had this gold on anyone else, right? But again, necessary there. Not a misplay at all from Dark Lord to take that kill with the Q. But I am curious. You know, maybe unfortunately we were missing out on content this week. Week has been kind of hard for our content writers, so. I am curious, like, if Dark Lord has kind of really taken on like the Inspired mentality about jungling, because when Inspired finds himself in these spots, he's basically playing exactly how Dark Lord does. He just keeps forcing. Because essentially, if you lose, if you're in a losing position, it's kind of the ball's in your court to start finding plays, and he's been proactive. Just hasn't worked out because the response from Andromeda has been so hard to deal with. But now, a bit of some river control here for Team Yippie, which is pretty unexpected.
We do have Dr. Mundo playing as a ward for his team, utilizing that health bar. Vanquish firmly in the control of at least red side for the current moment. Baron has started. Oh no, gonna run directly into the charm, but there is gonna be Shin keeping the support alive once again. Grand Starfall rolling on the other side. Yip starting to fight, but there's gonna be the Cataclysm isolating so much of the team. Dr. Mundo flashing forward, getting a shutdown on top of the Caitlyn. Yip digging deep, finding the damage, grabbing the kills. Huckme really wants this victor. Nice side juke, keeping ourselves alive right there at the end. That's 3 kills, and that's exactly what Yip needs. Not only did they stop the objective, but they managed to pick themselves up a nice set of gold, and that's exactly what you need. But the problem is, you need to take this, you need to turn it into something, and you need to stick the landing.
Well, you know, I know a lot of people are looking at like Mundo there in that fight, but Im2O plays it so well. Hits a double stun there near the end of like the fight before people started running away and ultimately getting out for Andromeda. But that the Mundo paired with Im2O playing the Bard, honestly, the Bard gameplay this game has been phenomenal. Has been kind of a member who has at least attempted with some big potential, with some Tempered Fates, and has been connecting those. And then also the stuns have just been on point. But Huckme, we're starting to see some of the strength of the Mundo, because he's now officially scaled. In fact, he's close to Flame Horizoning Caillou here, which wouldn't be the best way to start your game number 1 as a top laner. But of course, Shen does usually fall down in CS because of Stand United, right? If you're more of a supportive kind of top laner, especially during the lane phase, to prevent like ganks and things like that. So makes sense to be down some CS. This amount of CS unlikely, but yeah, we're seeing the strength of the Mundo, where the Mundo can take over these fights if not focused down. And the Caitlyn on 4 items here, so might be able to deal with the Mundo a little bit better. But regardless, it's a much needed team fight win for Team Yippie. And another Drake denial, so no soul going the way towards Andromeda buys them more time to get themselves online, as we see Fitz here working towards the Rabadon. Should have that soon. We'll definitely have it before this next Drake, unless the game is over. So, Baron now spawned in, but don't think anyone's going to be playing that, as Huckme is definitely... Yeah, look at that damage.
Yeah, Scorp getting absolutely chunked. There's going to be ultimate for Dr. Mundo. Already getting close back down to half HP once again, and the ultimate for Scorp. Scorp not able to pick up kill, unfortunately. Dr. Mundo just kind of allowed to walk away with a couple of, I would say, free plates. He did have to blow his ultimate for that one. But now, looking at that 30-minute mark, getting close to the 31-minute mark, which means the gray screen is going to start getting long in the tooth, and every death is going to matter more and more and more, giving more opportunities for Yip to come online. And we're doing a little bit better. Our score, at least in gold-wise, we're only about a K difference, maybe math is hard, so I'm not going to do that one. I think it's about 2K. No, it's about 1K difference. I'm not going to do the math thing. 8 to 13, either way. We did buy ourselves a lot of time picking ourselves up 2 Infernal Drakes, so Yip's going to be happy about that one. But still, I think we have the same problem we had at the beginning of the game, the problem with team comp, which of course is going to be there is so much more weight on Yip's shoulder to make things work than it is when it comes to AES. Other than maybe like Dr. Mundo. Dr. Mundo at this point can't really get behind unless he like just logs out. He's about 90 CS ahead. He's got 3 kills. He's got a lot of stacks, so he's looking in really good shape. I think that's 534, and he's been able to take plenty of plates, taking down a T2, right? That one. Now we're looking to start a fight maybe inside of the Baron. We are pinging it, but the thing is Dr. Mundo still has a TP out and ready to go, so I gotta imagine this is going to transition over into the Baron here sooner rather than later, as it does kick up right now, and the Vision War has begun, Aussie.
Yeah. Some traps lay down, and they get the TP, and they're going to hit their runaway buttons, which is very, very, very smart, is you do not want to lose the game off of a Baron flip here if you are Andromeda. You're in such a commanding position earlier on in this game, and that one team fight equalized the gold essentially. And Andromeda make the smart decision. They take the free TP from Hug Me, and also, interestingly enough to note, is Caillou is sitting on not only the TP but the Stand United. So, and it's not like Mundo has any like CC. So, should it come down to like this like snapshot decision of, hey guys, we're gonna force the Baron. We're gonna try and force this Baron. We're gonna keep Mundo in the side lane with the Shen. We are going to utilize Stand United. They can do that, so that is an opportunity. But 20 seconds to go here for Soul, as now the river control, which was sorely missing for Andromeda. As I say that, but again, somehow Yippie getting more. Nice attempt there.
Fights, trying to make a repeat as last time. They did get a really nice charm there. Dr. Mundo is in, wasting the ultimate right there at the end. As it's a Cataclysm, one kill as Fitz is allowed to go around to the backline kill after kill rolling through. But Dark Lord left here by himself to his own devices, buying so much time for his team, but it's going to be too little, too late as the Caitlyn picks up a triple kill, a quadra kill, and that's going to be a full team ace right before the objective. This might already be the end of game number 1. I did say that the efficiency was on AES's side. They just needed a couple of things to go right, while Yip needed so much to continue to go right for them.
Yeah, unfortunately there, Hugby goes down pretty early on in that fight, and Dark Lord sends it with Fitz melee range with the Caitlyn, and they just get punished. And now, game going towards Andromeda.
The Nexus is indeed going to go down. The last little bit of our score at the 34-minute mark is 9-18. First point, first victory going to AES, Saucy.
Yeah, really well played from Andromeda. Small slip up, right? And this could have been another fight where if that Caitlyn gets one shot, right, they're sorely missing a lot of damage there. But Honey stays alive for long enough. And doesn't even die, so just stays alive is what I should have said. Is pumping out some numbies in that last fight, and yeah, again, it's unfortunate I think for Team Yippie, because we did see that like miracle fight around that dragon earlier, predicated off M2O, you know, having a great play on the Bard, and the one time he misses his ult, right, it's the game loser, which hurts, you know. It does hurt sometimes to try and deal with that, but still played a pretty good Bard game, all things considered. You got behind bot lane because your Ezreal got chunked out and then dove. And then you could see, right, you know, like this gold graph is pretty insane, and then that jump up is where they find that miracle fight around the dragon. Pretty tense game overall, but well played to Andromeda for holding on, fighting off the jitters after losing that fight, and climbing their gold lead and getting the victory back to essentially to where it was before that point. So as for Team Yippie, yeah, just not necessarily the best play coming out from the Ezreal there. Because again, I talked about the smallest of margins mattering, and League being a game of like butterfly effects. Well, taking that bad trade ended up you dying under your tower because you get dove by J4, which kind of kicked off the snowballing for Caitlyn. And it was all downhill from there.
Either way, that is going to be first point, first match going to AES Nightshade. Massive congratulations to the team. But don't forget, this is going to be a best of 3, so we have potentially 1, maybe 2 more matches, depending on how Yip plays it going forward. Give us a couple of minutes, everyone. We're going to run to the little caster's room, so grab yourself some drinks and some refreshments, because we will be right back. and welcome back to game number 2 between AES and Yippie. I am still your local casting cowboy Korak, and this is still Aussie on color and Shivam on production. Let's dive right into game number 2, draft number 2. But before we do, Aussie, any notes, any things you want to pull over from this first game rolling into the second one?
All right, well, it seems like hopefully everyone is kind of back to normal. I think we should be at full roster strength now. That flooding situation, I think, hopefully figured out. We'll see. But for me, I think big things are like Team Yippie. Bot lane can't bleed out as hard as they did. And funnily enough, I mean, Hugme did play a pretty good Mundo game. Like, that was a first pick Mundo. His team got incredibly far behind early on in that game and still managed to have such a huge impact to at least pull them back within 1,000 gold after losing basically the whole game and give them some hope. So I'm really looking at this bot lane to try and, or more importantly, right, looking at like kites, and they can get going off strong. I think also fits as well on like. I wanted to see the Ahri get active more. Like, it's kind of insane to me to be playing, like, Pantheon Ahri, and you don't really see any of that, like, impact being played together because of how easy, right? Like, Pantheon can set up for the Charm can set up for the Pantheon. Like, you're so great, and then, of course, you have M2O on the Bard, who had a pretty good Bard game. Again, unfortunately, the one miss is all it took for them to lose the game. But still had a great performance, and Yunara did get buffed on this patch. I am curious how she's doing right now, because again, we're still day 2 of the patch, so being live, so not really any reliable stats to really pull from on how she's doing. So curious how she's going to be performing in competitive. Usually saw this as like a game 4 champ, game 5 champ at MSI. But that was before her buffs, so I don't necessarily hate it in game number 2 here. The Lilia as an answer, or as an option here for Dark Lord, as an answer into the Wukong is pretty interesting. They're going to play Wukong Yone, and then with that Ziggs bot lane, and hey, there's that Aurora champ that, man, I actually hit basically everything so far. I'm proud with that one. Proud with my little key notes for this week, but man, Team Yippie, I mean, they have a pretty formidable comp, but they really need to round it out, in my opinion, in their last 2, because they are missing quite a few things, right? CC is incredibly low. You still need something that can kind of go in with the Lilia or provide space for the Lilia, because Lilia is kind of solo going in. 9 times out of 10, Lilia is just getting, like, nuked, which is not ideal. You want her to try and stay in the team fights for as long as possible. But Team Yippie hopefully able to round this one out, but if they pick an enchanter here, it's going to be Nautilus. They do recognize that, so smart from Team
Everyone's
Yippie.
favorite enchanter.
I was very, very worried that we were going to get like an enchanter this game. I was like you really can't afford it. So M2O going to take a bit of that L, I suppose.
Honestly,
blind.
Who I was hoping that we would pick up is, I think Yippie would have done really, really well with a Alistair. I think Alistair Yunara is still one of my favorite combinations. I think it is a lot more for what people give it credit for. It really sets things up for Yunara, and Alistair is such a solid champion. And honestly, if you're going to send someone after Ziggs, I don't think Alistair is the worst choice for it. Nautilus is still a good choice for that one, and of course, Nautilus is still very, very powerful. We've seen him plenty of times. I don't think he's going to go anywhere in the meta anytime soon, but I've been known to be wrong, so we're happy to see that one. Another one that I think pairs really, really nice with the Nautilus, though, now looking at the shift, but I don't think it would pair too bad with the Alistair, is, of course, going to be the Trundle. Trundle, I think, is one of those champions that I really, really love the jungler, especially if we're playing into someone like Ornn and the Leona, so I think Trundle's got a really, really good setup here for it. But oftentimes the problem with Trundle is sort of getting into that range, getting into that pillar range, but once we get down to that pillar range, things look really, really good. And actually, is this Trundle top? This is Trundle top lane and Lilia in the jungle. Okay, this is interesting.
Subjugate for the Ornn, but I talked about needing some kind of champ to kind of pair with the Lilia so the Lilia can have enough space to kind of play the team fights. I'm not necessarily that sold that they've accomplished that with their draft. Because to me, top lane Trundle just wants the side lane. Like, his team fighting this game is very hard. He's going to subjugate Ornn. He's going to get tanky. You can kind of play off of the Wukong, Yone, try to go in on you. Or you could also ult the Leona W, right? Pretty decent subjugate target as well. But overall, you're looking towards this Trundle splitting as the strength of the champ, right? Like, it's not like Jungle Trundle, who doesn't need to split because you're not a top laner. You are playing top lane Trundle, which means you want to split as much as possible. But Ornn provides so much value in team fights that you might feel forced as the Trundle to be like, man, guys, I gotta be there, right? I have to subjugate this Ornn so we can kill him early on in these fights. So we'll see if this comes back to bite Team Yippie. But some interesting draft choices as we get up onto the Rift for game number 2.
Yes, indeed. Game number 2 now rolling on screen. That's a nice moose. But our second game, first point of the board to AES, which means Yippie is up against the ropes. They're going to have to turn things around. They're going to have to win this game and the next, rolling forward to watch out for it. And I think one of the biggest things we're going to have to watch out for is going to be the bot lane. Things are a little bit different. We got to remember that we have Ziggs here. Ziggs is going to be really, really nice, I think, for countering someone like Trundle when it comes to just the pure macro control, when it comes to a lot of this pushing power. It also means something I think that's going to be pretty important too, is that AES is in a good position to try and fight for these Void Grubbies, because Ziggs is one of those champions where I think it's worth to try to focus on getting your hands on Void Grubbies, because what makes a pushing champion even better, is a little bit more help from the Grubbies. Yeah,
now, it was funny that, you talked about last game of your opinion about, like, Void Grubs being impactful versus not. Well, there's actually been a pretty big conversation piece on Twitter at the moment by LS and the surrounding community about whether or not it's worth it. The math dictates it's essentially never worth it to at least flip the game over the Grubs. Obviously, if it's free, that's not the argument. It's more so like fighting for the Grubs is not that impactful. But I'm kind of on like the middle ground opinion of like, Grubs on certain champions enables you to get so many plates early, right? Which is where their strength lies. It's not like a late game objective thing. To me, it's a much more early game focus thing to try and get yourself as much gold as possible. In that early games, like champions like Caitlyn really like that, right? Or Ziggs in this case, in this game. But there's also drafts where you really get, if you get Grubs and you never hit a tower, and then you died for it, was it worth? No. Right? So, I'm kind of on the middle ground opinion. I'm sure differing opinions, of course, right? League is a great game in terms of it being very complex and allowing people to have different opinions, but math does dictate that it's not worth it. So...
Obviously, that's going to be Gebetto's favorite word right there, the objective-based analysis, always everyone's favorite to roll into. It's stuck into my head ever since he brought it up. Nice little hook and a roll through into a little bit of damage, but Yanara struck a little bit more to get in the range, not really wanting that fight. But to go back to the Void Grubbies so we can beat it to death real quick, is I kind of see Void Grubbies like Bean Dip, right? You might go to the grocery store and pick up a couple of things, like maybe you need milk, maybe you need water, maybe you need something like that. You never go to the store for Bean Dip. Bean Dip is always the add-on, and I think Void Grubs is specifically that one. It might be a little bit different in cases like Dr. Mundo and Ziggs. If you can grab it, another hook and a roll through. I don't think it's going to turn into too much. Good amount of damage here. Ooh, trying to lock down the Yanara. Flash rolling through as Scorp is in trouble inside the mid lane. A lot of back and forward. No real kills here. Leona able to buy themselves a lot of spacing, a lot of different. And this is kind of why I would have liked the Alistar instead into the bot lane. I think it could have facilitated that double knockup and done a whole bunch in it. Dagu and Darku playing on junglersonly.com, running into each other, finding some hot young junglers in their area, but nothing real happening just quite yet. Almost 4 minutes on the clock, which means we got a minute for the next up-and-coming Drake. Aussie.
Well, to give some pushback about, like, the Alistar, I can understand not wanting to go for the Alistar because you're scared of double range, right? That really punishes you. The Nautilus prevents that a little bit, which is why we don't see it here. Although hook coming through.
Hook. I have Satchel. Still nothing. Not real too surprised by that. Ziggs really doesn't want to fight a lot of these, especially because he's got TP. Ziggs with TP, as Aussie would probably agree with me, often means that he's not going to be looking for these fights. However, somebody looking for a fight is going to be the top laner. There's going to be a flash there on Caillou. Caillou no longer has that available, which means he is pretty vulnerable now to Lily. Lily is going to be in a great spot if they want to rotate, but they've got to watch the rest of the lane. Speaking of the rest of the lane, Honey may be in a little bit of trouble, taking at least some damage, but the big thing is that this Nautilus does not have a lot of follow-up. He's basically out of mana, and Yanara really needs to get their hands on some more CS.
Yeah, also, it's so hard for Kites on the Yanara to get in range at the moment against the Ziggs. Plus, the Minefield came out, right? So it would have meant, like, Kites has to walk through that. And, of course, Honey, with more than enough mana to, like, queue him down, and he was already looking at, like, a quarter HP, so... Smart choice to back off. With that Cole, should be able to equalize a little bit. Nice little knockup there.
Oh, that's annoying.
But...
Yeah, using Trundle's Pillar to do exactly that. I was curious if you could do it like that. I guess you could do it with Cataclysm, so that does make a lot of sense. It does make things a little bit frustrating, I think, for Trundle, but he did it at level 6, and he's going to back right now. Aussie, no TP, so it's going to be the walk of shame on his way back.
Yeah. Thankfully, unlike League Classic, there's home guards permanently, so you can get back the lane pretty quickly. So hopefully doesn't miss out too much on the top side there, but break number 1 actually going the way towards Team Yippie as Dagu had ended up taking a reset, so won't be here at all. And nice little Drake pickup. Top lane Scuttle Crab is going to be the look on by Dagu to try and get the level 6, which is going to go uncontested, so... We do spot the Lily in mid, and we'll spot the Lily running up river, but that Scuttle Crab is already gone, and it's actually not level 6 here for the recon. So, my fault. Did not pick up enough XP. I had falsely assumed that he cycled just a little bit quicker, but I was incorrect. So, not level 6. We'll be level 6 very soon, though. Which enables a Cyclone, so maybe some ganks coming through. Would really like to maybe see it go bot lane, try and punish out the summonerless Kites here before those come back up. Although the time, like that window of at least was actually pretty sealed to utilize mid.
Ooh. Not enough to finish it off, but that's going to be half a Ladybug's worth of HP sitting on top of Scorp. We're going to be able to back off. I don't think we even have the mana to go for maybe like a flash kill if we really wanted to. No, we don't have the mana to really play with that. Young's actually going to stick around. A little bit surprising. I guess we're going to try to get our hands on that CS. That's going to be pretty important. And we are sitting at 60 to 68 there, so that does make a lot of sense. And I don't think we expected Inara to be around anywhere to do that. But when we're talking about the players, there's two things I wanted to point out here. Is I think that Hug Me has been more likely to be in these team fights rather than go for the back door. I'm not saying that they haven't done a healthy amount of backdoor, not that they haven't done a healthy amount of macroing, but I think they've been more inclined to look for these objectives. So that to piggyback on the note you were making there. And the other thing I want to note too is that Dagu has done a really good job of keeping up with Dark Lord. Another fight going to kick off here in the bot lane, but I don't expect too much going to happen. Once again, this is Ziggs. Ziggs really doesn't want to fight this. He is going to blow a flash, so he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable, but it is still Ziggs at the end of the day. But something I wanted to close that off with is that Dagu has been very, very good at staying on tempo with Dark Lord, where Dark Lord has been a little bit more awkward. I think maybe that's the idea of them picking up Lily, is to try to get that timing down just a little bit better. Speaking of...
Scorp, no ult. Does have
Doesn't know.
the E coming up in 3 seconds. So if sleep comes through, you can actually immune the sleep for the unstoppable. Yeah, well,
he does indeed pick up the sleep.
Doesn't.
There's that one. Dagu is here once again. Wow. He does have Cyclone. That's one on heal, but that's going to be the first blood for Dark Lord. This is exactly what I was talking about here for the timing. They were struggling to keep up with Dagu, and what's the best way to alternate that is to get yourself a very, very fast champion. And I think we saw a good example of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, the fighting's not finished yet, although priority, all right, they do get one grub.
Dagu going down about half HP. There's going to be the clone. There's going to be the TP as FYT sticks a little bit too close to the sun. And speaking of, Solar coming down as they get absolutely nuked. This is not a good position. It was a good idea right up until it wasn't. And once again, I think the positioning on fights is just a little bit awkward. I think that's the biggest complaint I want to make about them is you were talking about on RE hook rolling through into the bot lane as Nautilus grabs a really great one, takes one shower shot, two, Yanara looking for the other one, get a flash over the way and run into one, two bombs, but it's just not going to be enough. Ziggs left to his own devices, going to get taken down, and a great person picks up Yanara, putting a point on the board for their team. 1-2, almost at the 10-minute mark, a minute and 30 seconds for the next up-and-coming Drake.
Man, I was just about going to glaze Honey J, or not Honey J, but like Mage bot lane overall, right?
Stop cursing the players, Aussie!
Look, I didn't get to say it, so it happened before I even had the chance to
You thought it! It was enough!
fair enough. But the big thing about Mage Bot is it allows rotations from supports much easier. Right, Rainy Day is able to rotate top. Hug Me is able to walk away there. Man, not looking that great, but able to walk away nonetheless. But
CS.
Ziggs being able to unlock the Ileana, right, is what's the turning factor? Because that could have very easily gone more south for Andromeda, which right now you definitely don't want. But thankfully Team Yippie, off of a flash hook from M2O, catch out Honey J. Honey J not necessarily understanding that if you as a mage just sit under tower and then say they're going to dive you, you just ult the wave as Ziggs, which is basically one-shotting it at this point. You would have been safe, but unfortunately a little bit greedy there. We'll utilize the Solus. Look at Rainy Days.
There's going to be the Solar. And unfortunately, Fights is going to walk away. Leona's going to be down a powerful tool in their shed right before an objective does pop up. I do understand trying to make that happen as Ziggs gets a little bit too close to the sun, but we managed to dodge, so it didn't count. This is not good. However, Nautilus already taken a good amount of armor shred. Doesn't matter how tanky you are. If you've got the armor shred rolling through, there's going to be Cyclone on two. One goes down, two. Looking for the third one. Dark is here, but a little bit too little, too late. FYTS is here as well, but it just does not matter as Hug Me needs a hug from the tower, taking a couple of shots, doing a little bit of proxying, nice little bit of kills, but I don't think we can turn that into a Drake in the bot lane. This is actually turning around in Yippie's favor as we get taken down. What a web we weave here with these fights. Now we've turned this 2v3 into a 2v2. Lots of back and forward. No jungler here to stop this one, so the onus is on blue side to try to get it. They need to get Dark Lord before the Ignite rolls through. Speaking of, second Drake falling forward. There's going to be a flash. There's going to be a stun. There's going to be a sap recharge. There's going to be the damage, but Dark Lord able to get away. Wukong going in, grabbing that kill, but Honey gonna die for it. That's two supports. That's Scorp. That's three for a Drake, only for Yippie to end up taking the whole thing anyways.
Yep, but really well played. It's the elongated fight that really bites Andromeda. They find an initial, a pretty good initial look, but they just overstay their welcome so hard and they get punished, Team Yippie. Now, it's a, incredible position in this game to start really netting themselves so much gold in this mid game as Lady King is pretty crazy on the org. Out trading the Trundle a little bit, although Trundle doesn't seem to care. In fact, Trundle's more worried about bonking the wave rather than the org. So, fair enough.
Take another plate. Nice little knock up here back and forward. And this is sort of the key thing when it comes to Trundle is Trundle has, of course, a lot of life regen, Aussie, as I'm sure you're well aware. But the kind of the other bad side of that, too, is Trundle, of course, needs to be able to hit things, needs to be in range if we're knocked up, if we're stunned. That really is the kryptonite to Trundle because he still needs to hit those things to happen. And I think that Caillou has a lot of opportunities to happen that. But the biggest thing I think we need to focus on is the CS difference. It's 138, or do you have a dead support here, I think? Nautilus in a bad position. They do see at least one of them who sticks around for some reason. We do take a lot of shots. There's going to be this Towers 1 as Dark Lord rolls through. We're maybe overcommitting to this fight, and somehow Nautilus is still kicking around. Cyclone on one, but we're left here to our own devices. Got to get taken down. Nice little charge right there at the end. 3-4-0 trade. Things are turning up. Yippie as our score rolls 4-8 at the 14-minute mark.
Hey, looking pretty good position here for Team Yippie. Won't curse anything, but Hug Me decides he wants this mid tower and is gonna bonk away here. Is now, yeah, not quite tanky enough or dealing enough damage to get that tower just yet, but that's a lot of damage, and funnily enough, that's a grubs difference. So, good job on Andromeda for preventing that. Although Dark Lord now is able to walk away there. I guess a hop, skip, and a jump away, or I guess prance away would be more accurate, as I'm going to take the spot lane Scuttle Crab. But Korak, I think realistically Andromeda, they need to try and get a team fight quickly, because right now as it stands, they're kind of just getting outplayed off of skirmishes, which their comp is not great at skirmishing early. You're not out skirmishing like an Aurora early, right? Especially not with your Yone, who is this far behind. He's going to get outpaced by the Aurora really hard. Ziggs is always scaling up, right? But just sitting on the Ludens, definitely not the most ideal, right? And Yunara has been scaling up kind of quietly this game, as Hug Me.
Okay, in trouble. He does manage to dodge the bowling ball. Dagu is here. There's going to be the call of forward guard. Going to start out winged. And the knock up there on top of Dark Lord. Dark Lord sitting at half HP. Second Cyclone rolling through. The Q does hit the kill on the other side. Leona for the rotation. 2 kills. Putting a couple more points on the board. But strangely enough, Ornn went down. I didn't realize that. So 1 for 2 trade. Score 6-9. Haha, funny number as we go for Shelly. Ooh, that hook almost hit.
Yeah, Honey. Go.
Do we have follow-up? There's the ultimate. There's a couple of knockups. There's the satchel charge. There's a nice hook gonna roll through. A couple of shots as the support almost goes down, but that's neither horseshoe or hand grenade as Yone gets almost nuked in the mid lane. Couple of near misses on both sides as Shelly falls in the background. Scorp really playing with fire.
Man, that ultimate did so much damage there. Scorp narrowly able to avoid disaster. Honey J unfortunately used ult on that previous wave, which is what allowed them to try and punish the mage, but Team Yippie have actually been doing a great job at punishing the mage because the Leona showed top. So, well played from Team Yippie to adapt and figure out a way to punish these mages, because that has been a very big point of contention at the moment in the meta. It's like, how do we stop these like mages from just being so strong? And that right there, a perfect example is M2O has been playing a pretty phenomenal series here in the support role. Usually don't get to glaze supports all that often, but definitely warranted for the series performance so far. Hopefully that doesn't go like come back and, you know, cast or curse him into making really bad decisions, but as for now, M2O doing a pretty outstanding job here on the Nautilus, and also last game on the Bard, even though they left that. And finally, we're going to see the Ornn.
Rolling ball. Still going to roll through. I thought Kaiju was going to dodge that one, but it looks like it wasn't going to happen. We're going to completely give this up, though, Aussie, in favor of towers.
Yeah, look at the top lane. Trundle just hitting away, and that's the big thing as well. It's an opposite issue for him. Well,
Aurora stick too long. We stopped the back, but at what cost?
Yeah, shutdown going over to the Wukong, who's 6-1 now. Again, would have liked to see that gold on someone else. Different from this time. Definitely was probably going to die, but well, it is what it is. Kind of close, I guess. Kind of close, so... maybe Aurora has a chance to pop the ult if you don't take the kill there. And then get out safety. And you did kind of dedicate quite a bit of resources and losing your top tier one, so better secure the kill than not. As teleport here for Hug Me is now he's going to set his attention towards the bot lane towers. As, yeah, the opposite problem here for Andromeda, right? They want a team fight, but that also means letting this Trundle sit in the side lane who wants to sit in the side lane. And just bonk your towers to death. Undisturbed as, oh, the E.
Yeah, there's going to be the pillar coming down. Caillou going down to pretty close to about half HP. Trundle's damage really, truly coming online. I still like the opportunities, other than the macro difference, I still like the opportunities here for AES. I think that we just need one really good Yone ultimate and one really good team fight, because we haven't had a blue and true team fight to kick off. We've always sort of not truly wanted to take it. Watching out for these objectives, watching out for a couple of these things. And I think once we finally get that large knockoff, I think that Yippie's going to be in a bit of trouble, because we got Call of Forge God, we've got Cyclone, we've got Yone Ultimate, we've got Satchel Charge, we've got Leona. There's so much to play with, and if we're playing around this Trundle, that could be a little hard to deal with. Although I think the deciding factor for a lot of these fights is going to be keeping our eyes on this Aurora. I think this Aurora is going to be so important to a lot of these different fights and how they go out. Maybe not if the support gets caught here inside the jungle. Am I kicking off? No, nothing.
Yeah, just wave clear here for Caillou to prevent this Trundle from bonking the tower as best as possible here. Is nice damage. Potential collapse. We'll be spotted out though. Vision control here, pretty good to allow Hugme to sit around on the spot side.
Orange starting to come online, though, in damage. We're sitting at level 14 now, and their trades into Trundle are a lot better. CS is still down pretty hard. Not that Trundle isn't winning those trades, those engagement, because he has that health regen, but we're starting to look a little bit better, especially after hitting that 14. The first Baron is up and on the map. That is going to be the 20-minute mark, and we have a lot less kills than we did in game number 1. 7-9, as Rainy steps a little bit too close to the sun. The hook going to roll through the damage from long range, but we're going to keep ourselves alive as Call of Forge going to get activated. Started here, a fight on Hugme. Hugme sitting less than half HP, but it looks like we don't have the mana for Caillou really to follow it up, so that's going to be an ultimate down for one on the other side.
Needs to be careful of a potential rundown, which is why he's running back the tower now. Subjugate's still available here for Hugme. And Hugme just completely doesn't care about that play whatsoever. Nice knock-up, but mana running low here for Caillou. One thing I want to note about Ornn's build path is I usually don't like the Bombi Cinder items right now. I think they're pretty bad. I think in this scenario it's actually incredibly brilliant, because you want to try and slow down this Trundle in the side lane for as long as possible, and you can do that through wave clear, and this item provides you with excellent wave clear to prevent this Trundle from just being able to take the tower in your face, which is something we saw Mundo do last game. Although two separate champions here, and funnily enough, Trundle pushes towers better. Just can't sustain sitting under tower for ages against just about any champion.
The Baron.
Dogu is chilling here, but look at the Baron. They see Dogu, yes, and this is free Baron.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate, and I think the macro is so much stronger on Yippie. I think that we need to be looking for these team fights, and so far AES has decided not to go for it. However, Baron's at less than half HP. Ball got to roll through, at least on top of Leona. There's still an opportunity to kick this off. Dagu is a little bit too far away. Baron is indeed going to go down. Leona trying to close the distance, but unfortunately it's just not going to happen. Can we get away with the rest of it? Yes, indeed, we can. We got the Baron, we got the tower in bot lane, and the macro and the gold is looking better and better as the gold goes on, as the game goes on. Speaking of, sitting at 37k to 45k here in the long run, but now I think the real fight begins. We have fights over the Drake, about 4 seconds on the clock. TP's rolling in, control of the mana bush. Wukong going at least on one, looking for that armor shred on top of, at least on the other end, there's the TP, there's the blue on each side. We really want to fight this kick off. We really want this fight to kick off, and I think this is going to determine how the tempo is going to go for the rest of the game. Hexatech Gate on the other side too, on this other side, looking to start a fight.
Oh, look at how Dutch they are.
Fight's looking for the angle, going to go in on one, but it only hit the support instead. Ornn on two, shut down on the Yone. Yanara already taken down. There's a whole bunch of blue and not a whole bunch of red, as the Drake is still up looking for that one. Yes, indeed, the objective falling to AES. They found their team fights. They got exactly what they needed despite that massive gold difference, and now all of red is on the run.
Well,
we're starting to fight.
Needs to be careful as Hugme. Oh no, they're getting punched here.
Leona in on one. She may go down, but there's the super mega death bomb at least on the other side. Trundle keeping themselves alive just barely. Dark Lord trying to get a nice little kill on top of the Ziggs. We get the kill. We walk away. Very smooth. Yippie may have not won that, but they didn't entirely lose it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got bailed out so hard by picking up that kill onto Honey J there. Otherwise, it was for sure losing. But look, Andromeda somehow climbed back in a horrible game state. Gold is still 6K in terms of the lead that Yippie has, but they pick up another dragon, right? And we are starting to see some of the niceness of their comp, and unfortunately there for Team Yippie, the transcendent state for Yunara just wasn't there, right? It wasn't actually up for that fight. So she didn't have the dash, gets gone on by the Cyclone, gets knocked up, and then gets knocked up again by Call of the Forge God. Is now Rainy Days in a very bad spot.
Picking up Roots in at half HP. However, Honey J is here. There's going to be ultimate for Leona. There's going to be a Cyclone at least on one. Trying to close the distance here on top of the Yunara, but it's not going to happen. So much back and forth. There's going to be dead one. There's going to be a nice massive ult from the Yone, leaving Dark Lord here with the Trundle by themselves after Honey J. 1Q, 1 kill, 3 kills on each side. 13 to 13. Things could still go either way as we're looking for a kill on Scorp.
Like me, not gonna bother chasing that one, but look, if Honey J is able to net like 1 or 2 more like Qs or even damaging abilities against Dark Lord, because it's been so close twice now, the tower will be falling. Nothing Caillou can really do as Scorp is looking.
Yeah, Hug Me sitting about half HP. Yon going in, doing something, but it's going to be hard to close, I think, the distance on top of Hug Me. Caillou trying to get a knock-up, but unfortunately, it's just not going to be enough. And I think that's like the 3rd or 4th time Hug Me has been in sort of these bad positions and just kind of waltzed out. Dark Lord doing the exact same thing, so I think that when both of these players are on champions that have some sort of way to facilitate an escape like that, I think they play very, very well, which is why I think that Hug Me maybe struggled on Dr. Mundo, because while Dr. Mundo does have the passive and Dr. Mundo has the maximum dosage, which I believe is the name of the ultimate, I think it's a little bit harder for them to escape sometimes. I feel like Trundle gives you a literal pillar you can put between you and them, plus a bit of a movement speed.
And it slows. Like, the slow is actually so impactful on Killer. Like, it is an absurd slow.
Scorp backstopped. GG, it's over.
Yeah, might as well FF there. Report my jungler for letting my back get stopped. Thank you. X9, please. Times 9. Reporting you on Twitter to Drew11. Regardless, though, Andromeda did find that nice fight, right? We're a minute 30 out from their soul points as well. So Drake has suddenly become this kind of potential win con here for Andromeda in this game, where realistically they shouldn't have even found a foothold to begin with. So I'm happy to see that come through.
Team fighting.
Honey J on the 6, though, needs to really lock in here, because this Ziggs can do a lot of work, but it's predicated on the fact of hitting your skill shots, much like any other skill shot champion in the game. But the amount of damage the Ziggs can do makes it that much more impactful when you miss things, right? Like, sure, it's kind of low CD, so you can keep spamming it, but again, every bomb missed is like looking at like 300 damage minimum on just about anyone. So you really need to lock in here, because your team desperately needs you right now to pop off. 30 seconds away now as Hug Me pushing in this top side. Doesn't seem to really be bothered by Caillou, and will actually just go under tower.
Yeah, taking so many plates. Call of Fortune are going to get activated, but will it be enough in order to stop Hug Me? There's going to be the tower shots as we do get pretty close to going down, but I don't think Ornn really has enough to finish this off. This is a very, very powerful Trundle. This is right before the Drake. 12 seconds on the clock for that one, and Hug Me just doesn't care. We're just going to take that. We're going to ignore the Ornn, and we're just going to sort of go about our own devices. There's going to be an inhib down. That's a pro and a con. If we don't end sooner rather than later, that's going to give more gold to AES, but the real fight's going to be starting right now as the Baron has begun. Cyclone on one, trying to lock down Dark Lord. Dark Lord maybe a little too close to the sun, but there is going to be the Zhonya's keeping ourselves alive. There's going to be a double kill on Yunara. So much back and forward. The blue is shrinking left and right. Dagu is alive. Triple kill on the Yunara. There's the Ornn, but too little, too late. Knock up on 2. Maybe an opportunity to turn it around. However, you cannot forget about the Aurora. I think this is going to be the end of this little bitty engagement. 3 Drakes going over to AES, but it does not matter matter because your entire team is dead. TP to the top, and we've got to worry about all of these minions rolling into our base.
One of the big things as well for AES's comp is it's this Ornn, right? Like, their teamfight successes really come when the Ornn is able to be there, but doesn't look like an end. So, look, there is some hope here. I know the gold lead is almost 12k, as I'm getting too close to my microphone because I'm getting locked into the game again. But
Put me in a bad spot.
Got out.
Okay. We do catch him. I think we still take Baron. I don't think we can stop Baron in time.
Respawn here could kill them. That's sketch.
True. Yeah. But do we see it? Are we going to feel it? Scope it? We've got to get out of it, though, too. We don't need to just take Baron.
So
we need to get out of it whatsoever. There it is. Leona in on one. There's going to be Dark Lord, so one Baron buff down. Another one, because the other one is we only have 3 Baron buffs to roll through, and neither one of them are on Hug Me. So while we did pick up the Baron, we did give over some more gold to AES, while AES is also having some time to build up some of these super minions. I think the first set of super minions are rolling through, which is an additional 90 gold in each lane. So if we're able to stall this out, we're able to buy ourselves a little bit more time, which I think we did by stopping the 2 important people from getting Baron buff, which are going to be Hug Me and are going to be Dark Lord. Those are great facilitators for those pushes, and those are no longer available. We do still have it on 3, but that means those 3 people are going to be in predictable locations, which means they're going to be in pickable location, but the execution is going to matter so much rolling up Aussie.
Yeah, all right. So let's talk about that last Drake fight, because I think we're going to get another one, unless barring some mistakes here from Andromeda that would end the game with this Baron. Andromeda desperately need their Ornn to be there on time, right? He ends up utilizing the Call of the Forge God top to try and prevent Hug Me from getting the inhib, which, I mean, we know obviously failed, right? It did not have any effect, and plus they lost out on their frontline potential, right? And that's been kind of a turning factor in these fights for AES around the Dragons, right? It's what found them their first team fight win of the entire game, to kind of keep themselves in this game. But now it's a level 19 Trundle beating on this Ornn, and there's really no one here to wave clear as the Call of Forge God comes through.
Flash gonna roll on the other side. Hug Me, still alive though. Not a whole bunch of action other than the bot. We're pushing with the Baron. We're sieging with the Baron as Leona just pops up. Yon go on the other side. Nice little bitty engagement. Now Yippie in trouble. Cyclone on 3. There should be an armor shredded on 1. Dark Lord left here to fight Dagu. Flash forward. Nice Zonia's buying herself a couple more times, but the Q is coming through. One shot gonna land, but it's just barely not gonna be enough. We do take down Hug Me on the other side. So once again, we're looking at a relatively even trade, which if you are ahead, you don't want to be looking for these even trades. And even on that fact, though, it was a 2-3, so they didn't even get a full 3-for-3. So we were able to buy ourselves even more time. AES has done nothing but buy themselves precious moments between the Drakes, between the kills, between the trades, and everything else, Aussie.
Oh my goodness. This game is kind of close, but they can't prevent Trundle from just taking their base. Like, they have no Nexus towers now. Nexus is completely exposed. It's becoming harder and harder by the minute for Andromeda to try and respond with this. I really think they need to get the Ornn out of the lane, because the Ornn is no longer able to, or sufficient at keeping up with the wave clear. So,
but can Ziggs stop Trundle? That's a real question.
Yeah, the issue is I think Ziggs might just get run down, right? Like, you only have Trundle, you only have Satchel Charge to try and heal yourself, or, you know, use that as jump, but it's so slow, Pillar can cancel it out. So it's so rough here for Andromeda, because now all Hug Me has to do is put pressure on their Nexus, and it's a guaranteed 4v4, and in the past, 4v4s have not been looking great. Trap is being laid in that bush. They're going to let the Ornn walk away, so they're going to know at least now someone's over the wall, and also now that trap is being dissolved as they go mid lane to pick up the wave. But 3 seconds away from Soul. I think they're just gonna have the Soul point. They're gonna have to give this because they're so scared of this Trundle just breaking their base open. As Ornn, let's find the Trundle there, but yeah, ops for nothing. And Andromeda's win con, I think, was that dragon right there, but because they lost so much of their base, they just weren't able to play it. And now I think this should, in theory, confirm Team Yippie's victory. Because the Drake stacking was starting to become an issue. Andromeda now slowed down, unless this game goes another 4 minutes, right? And then, even then, that's without Trundle getting any value whatsoever. And this is an LDR Trundle, by the way, to get through the yard. So, and the longer this is going on, Yunar is scaling as well in the background. Although the Zig's pretty huge now. Has the Rabadons. Also opting for the Oblivion Orb to deal with the healing here from Trundle. Orin should be close to the Jack Show. Of course, there's the Flame Horizon coming in from Hugme. Which
I think, honestly, at this point, Aussie, I think if we just catch Hugme, I think we just turn that into a fight and turn it into a kill, because Hugme's been the main facilitator for a lot of these pushes, and it looks like AES is looking to do specifically that. They've positioned themselves in a lot of places really to try to get their hands on Hugme to stop this, and that seems to be one of their stronger characters to worry about. And, you know, as the game gets pretty long in the tooth, and we're getting exactly there, like 35 minutes, 6 Drakes in total, gold starts to matter less and less and less, and so does itemization. At some point, you really are going to catch up, especially the fact that, you know, Ornn is scaling the rest of his team. You know, we've got item upgrades across the board. People looking really, really good, you know, and I don't think Wukong's really going to fall up. That Cyclone's always going to be really, really good. And the less and less objectives there are to take, the less, I think, value Hugme potentially has, unless we're able to get a really nice backdoor off.
Yeah, like, Trundle is just unleashed in this game. He just deals 600 HP. Call of Force got utilized. Misses.
Caillou, unfortunately, does miss. We can get a knock up on the wall, just barely if we go for it. Yes, indeed, but we don't have the damage. The problem is now we're fighting over the Drake. Now Caillou having to run away. This 1v2 not going in their favor, despite having the numbers. They do not have the Trundle. There's the TP on that side, so maybe we're going to rotate on this side, but can Trundle get the back door by enough time? Look at that damage on Aurora. Damage on the other side. Honey Jade at least able to do some purchases. Daku keeping himself alive. Aurora picking up a Cyclone. The business end of a Wukong going to go down. We've got the kills, but can we save our base? Hugme looking for the race. Scorp looking here for the trade. 1 inhib going down, looking for the second inhib. That's 1 for 3 trade. Baron is still up. Scorp in a good position to buy himself some time for his team to take the objective. Scorp finally landing some damage, but Trundle does not care. He's able to regen so much. Yanara is here. Kites can go in and potentially get 4 kills with this Baron buff. This is a good strategy, but we could get taken down here for it. Giving it up is going to be a little devastating. That will buy so much precious seconds. A macro objective going to AES is not what Yippie needs.
All right, well, they get triple inhib here. That's the play here for Team Yippie. Hugme. Literally the only reason this game is still ongoing and Andromeda has not won this game is this Trundle. But it's mind-boggling to me that somehow in a 3v4 situation, Team Yippie somehow find like a loss. There was no Call of the Forge God. Caillou had pretty little impact after the TP there. And then ultimately goes down. So didn't really do all that much. But now, Andromeda at least are triple inhibbed against this Drake spawn, which is happening in a minute, and the Drake is literally the turning point of this game. It's the biggest objective in the entire game, and guess what? Hugme can still threaten to end because your Nexus towers aren't healed up. It's triple inhib here, so he only needs 1 lane to just completely annihilate your Nexus. That's just not even looking at your towers either. As they're looking onto Hugme though. Good catch.
Scorp getting a good ultimate off, and that's going to be a dead Hugme. The entire strategy for Yippie just fell apart. The problem is, can we take the Drake in time for AES to not get there? Maybe we're going to look for try to set up a trap right here before this. We are pinging the base itself, but who's going to backdoor it? Who's going to go for it? We do have minions rolling their way through, so this should turn it into a 4v4. Ornn looking to stop the backdoor. We do still have Baron. Dagu taking a whole bunch of damage from Fitz as the Drake's about 10 seconds away from spawning. This is going to be so important, and the positioning is so much in the favor of Yippie. 28 seconds for Hugme. Someone has to stay at base, no matter what.
Dagu is showing on bot. It's going to take the go, but look at the Drake.
There's the gate
down, and there's the Hex deck. Oh no, he has no land, I think. We're sending
Yone is here. We're going to flash over the wall, looking for the Ignite. Who got the Drake? That's the important question. It's going to be Yippie, but do we lose the whole team for it? Double kill on the Ziggs, double back as we try to make our ways out. So even though we do not actually stop that objective, we do not actually stop that soul, that's going to be so hard. Now Hug Me is even stronger. He had so much gold, and that Drake gave him a lot of scaling. So at this point, what are we going to do? We got Baron, but that's only going to buy us team. We still have to deal with the Trundle. That's the biggest issue AES has to deal with.
Man, Andromeda really needed that soul. Would have helped some with wave clear, also with pick potential onto the Trundle, and now they don't have it. They've hung out in this game for far too long, though, to give credit where credit is due. But Hug Me, I mean, has been the thorn in the side of Andromeda the whole way through. Had this Trundle not been this strong, or realistically, right, has been shut down maybe a little bit earlier on in this game, their base maybe is in a better spot, but they take so long to really like address the Trundle problem. And slipping the Dragon Soul, they end up losing it, unfortunately. They do win the fight, but it's just a consolation prize. The damage here is probably just going to be too high from Yippie. I think that really turns the tides in those fights, because they're so close. There's now Caillou in a pretty bad spot.
Could look for the turn. The hook's going to roll through, but unfortunately it's not going to be good. Nice little dodge there from Hug Me. Bowling Ball going to run on top of Caillou. Armor Shred on that one as we just go for the objective. We go for the back door, and Trundle gets the whole thing. The team fight doesn't matter. Your gold doesn't matter if Trundle has taken your base.
Yeah, that was the issue of just not addressing the Trundle, right? Like, well, the choice to keep the Ornn permanently into the Trundle when you have 3 TPs in this game just makes no sense. Earlier on in that game, the Ziggs could have wave cleared against the Trundle without that being an issue. But yeah, I don't know. Andromeda hold on for way longer in that game than they should have. But I'm still not necessarily happy with their choices of dealing with the Trundle, because again, before this Trundle was like a turbo issue in the side lane, they could have rotated their Ornn out of that lane against the Aurora, who, by the way, the Aurora is never killing Ornn, right? Like, that's never going to happen. And while your Ornn is going to bleed some tower damage to the Aurora, it's much better than Trundle getting guaranteed towers to put you into this position. Team Yippie, not the greatest game, though. That like I said, that game went on for far too long. Like, look, they had the gold lead the entire game.
Honestly,
so,
I think AES had a golden opportunity to win that one, Aussie. And the biggest thing that I was watching on the minimap is, so we took Trundle, right? We finally got rid of that critical problem in this late game. He had such a long cooldown. Baron was ticking up. And instead of Ornn staying to protect the base, or Yone staying to protect the base, someone like that, the one that ended up staying instead, right there at the end, ended up being Dagu. And even though Dagu had that Hexatech date, imagine if he had gotten in and they'd been able to smite the Drake instead. That could have been the critical difference for that. And I think that was one of the key things, because they could have turned that into a soul, and they could have turned that soul into a fight, and then they would have just had to deal with Trundle. But it still would have been uphill, because I think most of the T2s were still up for Yippie, which was the biggest thing. And I think a lot of this game really hinges on the back of the Trundle, as you know, we've sort of beaten to death. Either way, everyone, give us a couple of minutes. We're going to roll into a quick little break. We didn't expect a 40-minute game, so I don't know about you, but I need to get some refreshments and some drinks, and we'll be right back, everyone. Hello and welcome back to game number 3, draft number 3. And I just broke my fidget cube. Name it.
Well, you did say it was on the way out anyway to me earlier today, so shocker. Shocker that you broke it right then and there. But hello, we're back after a brief delay. And brief is...
It's not brief.
An understatement for sure, but that's okay. We're back, ready for game number 3. Man, Team Yippie, that was not a clean game at all. Like, that should have been a pretty hard stomp. But, they struggled to end that one. Hug Me coming in clutch, to say the least, there on the Trundle. Because if that Trundle wasn't in the game getting those towers, I'm convinced they lose that game. Because that's the only thing that really prevented them from preventing Andromeda from winning. So
I don't like to put like an entire game on someone's back, but I think that game was pretty much on Hugsme's back. But we're now rolling into game number 3. A quick couple of items of housekeeping. Words are hard. Is we have Yippie now sitting on the blue side, and now red side is going to be AES. So now they've got the counter pick. If you look below our respective dumb heads, you can see all of the fearless bands that have rolled through. This, of course, is going to be the last one, and this is going to be quite the interesting series. Our score now tied up 1-1. Bands really haven't changed too much, but this indeed, like we mentioned before earlier in the draft, so if you're just joining us, is going to determine who makes it into the playoffs. Both these players are fighting for that coveted 4th slot, so this is their last opportunity. Both of their backs are truly up against the wall, and we're looking for our first picks. Any guesses? Oh, it's Sivert.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say any guesses, but
yeah. My guess is Sivert. My guess is Sivert.
Oh. Wow, you hit the nail on the head.
I'm so right. I'm so right all the time. I'm point scoring. Holy, I can't believe I predicted that correct. And there's another mid laner I talked about, Syndra. So
good game 3-1 now.
Yeah, so Orianna still staying banned, but Kai'Sa coming in for Andromeda. They did take away the Nautilus already. They played that it was played last game by Imtuo. So at the very least, it won't be Kai'Sa Nautilus. It
Singed.
Could be Rel and Singed. Man, Singed. I mean, Singed he's a pretty
champion.
Polarizing champion. And there's that Alistar that
Alistar. Oh, okay. So this isn't bad, right? Picking the Alistar because, as Aussie was actually the one that pointed it out to me, Alistar's a really good counter for Sivir. There's not much Sivir can do. Same thing with the Burb, but we see the Burb less hand, so I don't really blame them for grabbing that. It gives them a backline because Singe is going to be sort of in and out. So that does make sense. And then we roll into our last pick, which is going to be the Darius.
Also, Alistar not bad into Rel either. So that's the angle they were looking for. It's kind of a double thing. They prevent the counter pick into the Sivir. They save themselves a ban with it. And there's that Rel ban even. So options here for the Kai'Sa are not that great. Leona also taken off of the board. That was played as well last game. So engage options here in the support role are not that high. Which is a little worrying here for the Kai'Sa. Would have really liked to have seen, instead of the Darius as an answer to the Singed, I think will be the Nico, though. You talked about Nico, right? Like her being pretty strong. Unfortunately, the reason she kind of fell by the wayside, despite not getting any kind of changes, is playing double mage makes playing Nico that much harder, right? Because then you're just like really incentivizing the opponents to buy MR. When your entire bot side is an AP champ, so Ivern coming through. I mean, this is basically just turned into protect the Sivir comp with a Singed. So the Sivir can have a lot of carry potential in this game, but Andromeda are basically saying, we're just going to try and outhand you this game. We're going to try and outperform you individually and try to go from there. But Hug Me has been having such a great performance against Caillou that I worry that this Darius is not going to get enough ground covered in this game in the top lane in terms of a lead to actually have impact here. And on top of that, I worry that this Ivern could just take over the game because, again, in terms of polarizing champs, Ivern and Singed are pretty polarizing in their roles. But we're going to get onto the Rift and determine who's going to win this series.
Honestly, I think this is weird, right? So Dark Lord will act as sort of a similar way that enchanters do, right? Because one of the biggest things Sivir wants to add these multiplicatives to their damage. Alistar isn't the worst pick for them, but like other than Ivern, they don't have a lot to do that. So a lot of the game's really going to hinge on them having someone to come online, right? Sivir is great, granted, still one of the strongest. I think she still is the strongest hyper carry with 4 items, but the problem oftentimes is getting her to that point. However, we do have Hug Me, so maybe there's a little bit of macro to play with, but honestly, if I'm AES, one of the biggest places I'm going to put the squeeze on is the bot lane. I'm going to be trying to look for kills on that Sivir. I'm going to try to look for kills there and sort of play with that, but I guess we've got like the Weaver's Wall to make it across map, so it'll be very interesting to see how this goes. First, a couple of little damage is going to pop off, and this is kind of one of the things I think Sivir's going to really struggle to, is this is double ranged into Alistar, this is double ranged into Sivir. This bot lane is going to be very, very interesting, and I think the game's going to end up being on Hug Me's back once again, if he can make it that far.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a lot of potential for Hug Me, but already forced to utilize the Ghost. It is a Ghost for Ghost trade, but level 2 here already.
Do hit it before on Caillou. Caillou does get the early level 2, but there's going to be a knock-up, so Hug Me's able to grab it there right there at the last second, provide a lot of spacing, a lot of dancing back and forward. Pretty soon, I would be very, very surprised if we don't get Proxy. That is kind of the quintessential Singed move, but I don't think Caillou's going to take it lying down, and I don't think we can underestimate the Darius. Every single time I'm thinking that, like we've got a Darius, I don't really know we need to worry about him, is when he starts to pop off, and I think people forget about that bleed into the mid to late game. And granted, it's not as scary, or at least up front, I feel, when it comes to the first little part of the game. Nice little damage, nice little trade back and forth, but the problem is you're trading into a Syndra. And this is another one I got to worry about too. Hasn't Talia fallen a little bit by the wayside to where she's more specific, she's more of these game 4, game 5, rather than you would see her in a best of 3?
Yes, but also I don't think she's bad enough to where she couldn't pick her game 3, right? I think, in my opinion, I think a lot of champions that are picked in game 4 and game 5 are just needing conditions to where they could be played in game 3 as well, right? The Nefiri is the whole reason why Talia got picked this game, right? You want to shut down the Nefiri ult. It's also pretty funny into Kai'Sa, because Kai'Sa, if they're not paying attention, can just ult through your carpet, get stunned as they stop, is getting top.
Flash forward. There's going to knock up. The gank is indeed going to roll through. Ivern is here. There's a flash. There's Caillou trying to bring 2 into the tower as Ivern picks up the kill. But I don't really blame him for grabbing that first blood, as bot lane does the exact same thing. No first blood for them, but grabbing a kill on the Alistar is going to be very, very nice. This is exactly what I was talking about. I figured we were going to head our way bottom and try to keep this Sivir down, and we're going to have exactly that happen. The problem is Sivir's still got mana, and we do have amazing wave clear, even at level 3. I won't say amazing, but we do have pretty good wave clear for a level 3.
Yeah. Okay, so nice gank top lane, and again, I talked about Darius needing kind of snowball, right? Or it's pretty unfortunate that gank there from Ivern, and the reason Ivern's so polarizing is simply because you have such a fast clear time. In fact, I believe of all the junglers at the moment, he is the fastest. Oh, really nice scout of the week, actually. M2O. Look at the stun.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick up the stun.
No flash needed.
No kill, no mana.
I'm actually so surprised Scorp had enough mana for E there. But that was so close, because Scorp would have needed the flash had the E not been available. So nice scout of the week coming through to save the flash, and is able to TP back with a Lost Chapter. So quite literally perfect buy here.
Still wasn't a bad gank from the Alistar. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the mana to follow it up. I don't think there was really any reason for them not to do that. I think one of the advantages to having a Sivir, speaking of ganks, another Hexatech flash on the other side. Honey J, not necessarily in trouble. There's not a lot of follow-up. We might be able to get some damage off. We might be able to get at least a little bit of stun. Honey J actually getting close to about half HP, so that's not the worst thing. Alistar should get a good chunk of that back, but now Nefiri is here. Fake Nefiri is also here. It looks like it's only Fake Nefiri. It's going to be the Nico there playing the dog game. 1-1 is going to be our score. Looks like Ivern picking up 1 kill for his team. Kaisa picking up 1 kill on his other team. And I do want to see what Honey can do if they have a little bit more time in the sun. I think Kaisa is going to be a good champion specifically for that. And I don't think Rainy is a bad complement to them for this more aggressive comp.
Yeah, now, I mean, Caillou is just losing this lane. Here comes a flip. Yep, into the burn, and now, like, this is just gonna be the gameplay pattern, right? Like, the Singe has so much more move speed than you, especially during ult. What do you even do? And his ult is on such a low cooldown, right? Like, I'm really worried for Caillou because Huckme has already been playing a phenomenal series, right? And we saw basically 2 games back-to-back where he was either did Flame Horizon or almost double Flame Horizon in that Trundle game. And then game 1, he almost Flame Horizon the Shen as Mundo. So, and reminder, like, the Shen was technically a counter pick towards the Mundo. Because the Mundo was first picked there. And then of course the draft played out, so they knew what they were playing against. But Caillou does find Dark Lord here. Does
no
choose to run away.
Yeah, pick up a little stun on the way out. We're sitting about the almost 7-minute mark. Still score 1-1. 1 Drake on the side of AES. Nothing really too eventful other than, what Aussie pointed out with Hugme. Hugme is in such a great position, but so is Kaisa. I think once again, we boil down to, let's try and get this Kaisa fed, right? Kaisa is still very scary when it comes to them being ahead. They do sort of fit this divey comp. I don't think you could really classify her as divey, but she is still going to be an artillery mage. That's going to be really good for that one. The rest of the team, I think, fits it decently well, Syndra being sort of the outlier, but she can still play over walls and still give us a lot of utility when we need it, or versatility when it comes to a couple of these fights. Here comes the first proxy for the match. As Hugme goes in on the other side. Not much you can do about it, just Singe doing Singe things. Looking at the CS across the board, Singe, of course, is up thanks to that gank. No real surprise on that end. And we are pretty tight in the bot lane. Hextech flash into at least 1 knockup as Jay in a bit of trouble, going down about half HP, but the problem is here comes Nico. We don't have Pop Blossom just yet, unfortunately, but we do have his stun. We do have a good chunk on the other side. Dago is here. Dagu, Jesus, is here on the other side for the gank, but Alistair able to provide a lot of distance, but it may not matter because
nice
ultimately Sivir does go down once again as Honey J picks up a 2nd kill for their team, bringing our score 1-2. Another 3 minutes though for the next objective, but that's going to be a nice little start. But can we keep that momentum, Aussie?
Yeah, I mean, the Killer Instinct as well. I was like, man, Honey J probably needs the flash, but the Killer Instinct gets enough space there, so saves the flash actually on Honey J, and good time barrier to keep themselves alive, and they also pick up another kill on the Kaisa, so now 2-0. Kraken almost completed here. Curious to see what the itemization is actually going to be for this Kaisa. Can probably slot in the AP, so unlikely to be the crit build this game, which I think is a smart choice. Having that little extra bit of poke certainly can help, especially against something like Ivern, right? Get him to waste his shield. Although it's on a pretty low cooldown, as you can see here on Daisy, as Void Grub number 1 goes down.
Nice little stun right there. There's going to be the Weaver Wall getting deployed as Scorp does flash over the wall in a really good spot. Daku starting to fight here. We're going to get Caillou trying to make something happen, but unfortunately, one's going to go down. There's going to Pop Blossom at least on a couple. There's the at least first dunk as a good chunk of damage comes in for Caillou. Caillou might be the difference here for the fight as Alistair goes in, kills the support. Caillou gets isolated here by themselves. Honey J in for the other end, but this is still a technically 3v3 because we cannot forget about Daisy. Daisy is the unofficial player for your team and was enough to tip the scales in their favor. 2-for-2 trade, but Kaisa does pick up another kill.
But all in the meanwhile, it's this Sivir just eating this, like, the bot waves, plus getting some plate gold. So if you're Team Yippie, I don't know if you're necessarily that unhappy with what just happened. You got 2 Void Grubs. The skirmish basically went even. Plus, you got gold on your Sivir. I'm going to give the win towards Team Yippie. I think 100% that's a winning play. And even by the slightest of margins in that fight, they end up coming out ahead. And Daisy, as you mentioned, That fake champ. He's a fake champ for a reason. She's so good at being an extra member. As unfortunately, M2O forced to pop the ultimate here on the Alistar, so we'll not have that available for this Drake, which is pretty important, actually.
And AES was behind previously on a good chunk of these objectives. Sure, they 3 for 3 the Drakes, but like each one of those was so critical to them doing anything. And at this point, like I guess sort of the onus is on Yippie on this point. Once again, I think it's been kind of on that category as well. Is I think if Yippie can stop 1, maybe 2 Drakes, I think that'll buy plenty of time for hopefully for Sivir to come online. I think we're going to continue to try to put the pressure on that one. But right now they're kind of using Sivir as one of their backdoor elements. I expect Hug Me to be a bit more on the sort of freebie if they want to, but so far we're pretty happy with it. Looks like looking at the back door. AES is looking into good position. We do have control over the Mana Bush. I can't imagine we're going to fight for this. We could potentially get a TP up for Singe. We do finally get it, but it's going to be too late as we look for our first little sets of rotations. Sivir picking up a couple more CS in the mid lane. Nothing real massive there, but it's about a 20 CS difference between them and, of course, the Kai'Sa as Kai'Sa heads back down the bottom lane. No, that's actually not Sivir. I'm blind. That's Talia.
Yeah, that's Talia, but that's okay. As Rainy Days is going to get stunned up here. Half HP. Well, make that a quarter. It's
Weaver's Wall. Heal for the movement speed. Yeah, so that's not the worst thing to lose. I don't blame Rainy for blowing that flash. We did not know where Talia was going to end up. We just probably heard the Weaver's Wall and didn't know where Hug Me is. So those are good instincts, and it's better to use the objectives or use the abilities to get out of those. Not the worst thing for that. And that heal will be up sooner rather than later. At the 12-minute mark, we're sitting at 4-4 gold. Pretty even, about a 1K difference, Aussie, as this is still very much so anyone's game. We're still kind of filling each other out. And even though Hug Me's had a good impact, he's yet to have, and we might get it here, he's yet to have that massive impact we've been looking forward to. So far, it's been relatively passive. It's been dominating, but it's been relatively passive.
Yep. That is
awesome. There it is. There's going to be at least 1 kill, but can we get out from underneath the tower? Daisy going to get deployed, as at least there's 2 here for the victim. Damage on this side of the wall. Alistar doing a good chunk of on the other end. Looks like Hug Me able to pick it up right there at the end. Scorp in a bit of trouble. I doubt we're going to be able to get out of this. Maybe we can take ourselves down to someone a little bit lesser on the Gree. 1 tower shot, 2, but it doesn't matter. Hug Me's going to pick up the kill. He did a little bit of damage right there at the end, which is not what you want. So this is now a 2-in-1 singed at about a 2K difference. Sivir once again left to their own devices, looking for more and more CS.
Oh, you spoke it into existence, huh? Hug Me comes down. Gets some impact on the Singe there, so Andromeda, again, go a little bit too far there on the dive. I mean, they do get a kill out of it, but look, Team Yippie is definitely still in a decent position here. They have the gold lead. But unlike last game, they are actually down dragons, right? So Drake stacking is a really important thing for Andromeda to maintain, because right now, basically, there's basically 2 schools of thought, and you can examine that with some teams that have played in MSI. Lion, when they weren't comfortable fighting for Drake, they went for the gold play, right? Which majority of the time netted them a gold lead in majority of their games, right? So they would give up these early dragons because they couldn't fight them, or felt like they couldn't fight them, whether or not that's true, right? They get the gold. As Hug Me is completely gone, by the way. It's not even close. The ghost just makes him incredibly quick. Or you can play for the objectives, right? Which has been majority of the teams, right? Like majority of teams opting for the objective play, right? Go for the Drakes, right? Over the gold play. And the caveat with the gold play is the gold should be able to, well, they're going to go and Hug Me again.
Yeah, we're going to chase the Singe.
Don't chase Singe.
I would say rule number one is probably don't chase Singed, at least for my account, and I've been playing for quite a while. Shaco's in that list too. Don't chase the Shaco into the jungle, but we're gonna do it anyways. We're gonna try to follow Hug Me, which is indeed not gonna be how it's gonna work. It's just not in our favor. Getting a couple free plates here inside of the mid lane, and this is one of the things I think Hug Me has been doing over and over and over. He's been setting up AES as this sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't sort of situation. It's either you stop me and I take something, or you don't stop me and we take something, and it's this constant back and forth. Now, I do think Singe sort of fits that. I'm often worried when a team mate picks up Singe because sometimes it just doesn't work the way you need it to, but I think Hug Me is piloting it very, very well. Got a pretty good gold lead and being an absolute pest, which is exactly what you want to see Singe do. And I think they're going to do decently well in these team fights if we don't get an absolute nuke off here with AES. Shelly going to fall down in the background. We hit that 15 to 16 minute mark, which means we are indeed now in the team fight phase, which means we should be sitting a little bit of a tempo shift, Aussie.
All right. Well, back to my point about the philosophies of like objective first versus gold. Right? In theory, the gold gives you the ability to then fight those objectives, right? You get the gold lead, that means you're in a better position to take those fights. The issue, however, is if you don't get a big enough gold lead against like the objective stacking, right? It's essentially a race of in terms of like how much gold out of your plays are you able to get to try and offset like just giving objectives for free, right? Like, is this 1,500 gold lead big enough here for Team Yippie on this Drake spawn to really justify going for those plays rather than when they were on even footing? Well, that's to be determined. We'll see if it is big enough, because we're going to get this fight.
Yeah, fight's going to kick off. There's Alistair in, at least on one. Rainy, the Lizard, in a bit of trouble. We should pick up a stun, and I believe that's going to be a death. That's going to be a Pop Blossom, but unfortunately, it's not going to go off right before the objective does happen. Caillou in a bit of trouble. We're going to get pulled back in by the Sins. This is why this is so frustrating. This team is absolute chaos. We're allowed to be in multiple locations as Honey J gets a little bit too close to the other side. The poison going to roll through, and we keep ourselves just barely alive. Dagu is still on the other end, doing at least some little bit of damage, but our score now 8-6. 1 for 2 trade because we do have the support up finally, but we did get taken down in a really unfortunate position, and I did the best I cast there. I'm not sure if I'm losing connection on my end, but I'm going to check that out while Aussie takes over.
Yeah, well, we're back, and a little skirmish there. Flash and barrier burned off of Honey J, but Drake pulled up here for Andromeda, so we'll see if they're able to net this one. Rainy Days, let's not have that Pop Blossom, although really they go. Oh!
They do go on the other side. We get a grab Dagu right there at the end, looking to do Shelly for some PvP. 1 knockup, 2 knockup, 3. Need to get out there in time. Dark Lord here for that damage. There's so much more blue than there is red. 3 going down. Shelly is still out. We are going to get Caillou here, but we're going to try to fight the Singe once again, looking for it, but we might be able to get 1 dunk off. There's the bleed, but it's just not going to be enough. We stuck around. We got baited by the Singed. Again, that's really frustrating. And now we're going to lose a tower and maybe a second one. Nope, Shelly goes down.
Yep, see, now this is a gold lead in which they're 100% comfortable fighting with. It's an excellent play from Andromeda across the board. They win that fight, yes, they lose Soul Point, but now they're at such a critical point in terms of gold.
Oh, it was fake. It's fake. It definitely got me on that one. Okay,
oh my God.
We almost get Dark Lord. That's really frustrating. I still fall for the Nico, despite the fact that I play Nico. You think I would learn, but the Doggo did indeed bait me right there at the end. Hug Me having an absolutely fantastic game. 2 and 1. Got a good amount of a gold lead into the 0-4 Caillou. A little bit late on the tower, but I'm not really sure it matters. These results really do speak for themselves. But the rest of the team has been doing very solid. Siver's been able to pick up some kills here in the background. So has the Talia, all champions that I was just a little bit worried about. I do agree with the polarizing here for Ivern. I personally don't have an opinion one way or another. I really haven't figured them out in my head other than support in the jungle, and past that, I don't have much of an opinion.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Hug Me is not going to get grabbed there. I was maybe a little bit worried because I saw the collapse coming through from Dagu, but at the same time has Flash Ghost. It's going to be okay, so it doesn't really matter. all that much. Stun won't connect from Scorp there, so that's a bit unfortunate. And Korak, I mean, Andromeda now on a supreme back foot here. 5k gold, 6k gold actually just ticked over there. As yes, they have the Drakes, right? And if they can get the soul, that'll help equalize a little bit. But they have to get the soul without like dying before that point. And the gold bleed here for Yippie, in theory, basically makes that impossible to do. At the very least, Dagu has the smite advantage against Ivern, so the flip definitely positive towards them, if anything.
Biggest thing that I'm thinking here, Aussie, is even though Hug Me hasn't dominated every aspect of the game, I think he's definitely influenced it. And I think one of the biggest ways he's influenced it is I think he's provided the tempo and made things really awkward for AES. AES has been on the other side of the tempo almost this entire series. Even on game number 1, they struggled just a little bit, but obviously AES won that one, so they were able to control that. But like between the Trundle and now between Singe, we just kind of don't know what to do. Like, we don't know what to do with the Singe as we didn't know what to do with the Trundle. Do we go for the Trundle or the Singed and then it kills us anyways, or do we ignore it and go for the rest of the team? And they just sort of it's almost like they're hesitating, or maybe their shot caller's not there, or like there's just a lot of synergy breakup here, I think, for AES, and I think a lot of it does center around Hug Me. Granted, the rest of the team for Yippie has not been slouching whatsoever, but I feel like that's one of the biggest things. It's just that AES just hasn't been able to find the footing that they wanted to in these fights, haven't been able to find the footing that they wanted to in the macro objectives, and just across the map in general.
I mean, that's kind of one of the benefits of picking something like Singe, though, right? Like, it's such an abnormal champion to play against, and it's not something you play against very often, if at all, right, in competitive. So, I mean, also kind of saw that with, like, the Trundle top, right? Like, Hug Me playing these, like, weird top laners has been to the benefit of Team Yippie, because Andromeda hasn't found those answers like you were just mentioning about how to properly deal with them, right? Like, last game, they could have shut the Trundle down earlier with better wave clear to prevent that from getting to critical mass as early as it did in that game. This game, though, I think it's kind of all up to the Darius as they're looking on a guy.
Ooh, Hot Blossom, unfortunately, on none, as we get the flash right there at the end. Rain able to escape as double TP rolls through. Alistair taking so many of those shots, so many abilities down. Now Hug Me is here. Massive knock-up on the other side as the Weaver wall does not roll through. We don't have it just quite yet. The damage rolling through for Caillou. Caillou so close to going down. Honey J left here to pick up the pieces. The rest of the team falls around. We got so close to making something happen, but the Pop Blossom didn't land. The rest of the team's synergy was all over the place, and once again, we end up on our back foot. A 1-for-4 trade is definitely not going to be worth it. Sure, the Alistair's dead, but that's kind of what he's designed to do, absorb a lot of that damage, and we took so much of that utility out of that fight as the Baron rolls down.
I think the big thing as well is I think Andromeda are just getting baited by the Singed, right? Like, Hug Me's dancing here, waiting for the regen. TP though, if Andromeda are going to mount a comeback, it's off of this Dragon Soul.
Okay. Trying to do something here, but I think the something that he's going to be doing is probably dying. Once again, we're spending so much time on this Alistair. We go for the dunk on it, but it's going to be a bait. Another kill right before the objective does pop up. That's not what you want to see. Dagu trying to look for an angle here. And Hug Me, look at that movement speed for Singe. He looks for the knockup. He looks for the pull. Pop Blossom on 2 underneath the tower, but I don't think it's going to be enough as Hug Me gets knocked back into the other side. Double kill on top of the Sivir. Another one going down. Another ace rolling through on the other team. We have the Baron. We have the team, and now we're knocking at the door of AES. Is this going to be the end of game number 3 of this series, Aussie?
They're clicking away. They don't feel comfortable. I genuinely think they probably could have ended there, but they're going to play it safe. You have to remember that this is do or die for either team to make it into playoffs. This is, guaranteed seed number 4, whoever wins. So Team Yippie, right? They're benefiting so much off of this Sin, getting so much space, right? Running at Kaisa. Like, this Kaisa can't do anything. Kaisa gets flipped. Ends up,
Or she's dying.
Kaisa, yeah,
That's something.
Kaisa ends up flashing away as well from a Talia combo. And then just gets run down by a infinite move speed. Basically reminding me of the Chemtech meta all the way back. Like when Udyr, Hecarim, Skarner, old Skarner were like meta in the jungle with Predator. Like, he's just running at your AD carry. There's nothing you can really do. The peel's not that great. Rainy Days has done a pretty decent job overall in the series as a support, but the Nico just really hasn't been able to find those pop blossoms to turn these fights around, and Soul Denied and Iplo.
Once again, we're going to bait out the Alistar. There's at least Pop Blossom on one, but it's going to be Alistar, so it really doesn't matter. So Rainy Days dies, and so does Caillou, and I think so does Honey J. Yes, indeed. There's going to be Honey J down, so that's going to be 3 of our team. Weaver's Wall there to grab Scorp. Scorp looking desperately for that plant, but it's just not going to happen as a 4th one goes down, leaving only the Nefiri left on this map, and I do not think anything but a full disconnect from Yippie is going to lose them this game at this point. We're at the inhibs, we're chomping at the bits, and we're looking to end the whole series rolling into the playoffs for Yippie.
Yeah, congratulations to Team Yippie. I mean, Hugby's the... you know what? I'm going to let you end this one off, and then I'll talk.
So we're going to sit at an ending of 25-7. Quite the staggering difference between one team and the end. I'm sure my friend here is going to talk plenty about Hug Me, but I think the performance overall from the rest of the team did really, really well. A lot of the things that I had for reservations, a lot of the things that I was worried about when picking Talia, when picking the Sivir, really just didn't matter because we didn't know what to do with the Singed. And I think at this point, you know, that's something for the rest of the teams to look out for. If you're going into the playoffs and you're running into this team, honestly, ban the Singe and ban the Trundle, or at the very least have a very, very, very good answer to both of those. Maybe not Ornn.
Yeah, so now we can talk about Hug Me and his performance. I mean, clear-cut MVP. I don't think that's arguable. Best member across his team in all 3 games that were played today. But something I think teams really need to look at is dealing with these weird top lane champs that, like, also Dark Lord pulling out Ivern in this game as well to make it pretty polarizing. Like, there needs to be an answer. If you're gonna play against this team in playoffs, you have got to be ready for these random champions coming out, like the Trundle matchup into the Ornn top lane, which literally the only reason Andromeda lost that game was that Trundle, and the Trundle's stat line was bad. So keep that in mind. Like, the Trundle was like was a negative KDA, I think, and ends up being the most impactful member in that game, just sheerly eating towers the whole way through. This game, it's the Singe just absolutely running it down at Kaisa the whole time. No space provided whatsoever. And curiously enough here for Andromeda, unfortunately, Caillou gets the counter pick here, opts for the Darius, but it just does nothing, right? Like, that's the risk you run when you pick a champion like Darius, is it's a complete extreme champion. You play on one extreme, you're either popping off, right, where you get to recreate the C9 balls moment at Worlds when Juggernauts just got released, essentially, where he gets the pentakill, you know, around the Baron pit, just dunking through people, or you do 9.3k damage. So that's the risk you run, and it's honestly a risk that did not pay off here for Andromeda, unfortunately. Team Yippie, though, I do think they played solid across the board. I think their AD carry was subbed out game number 1, so I will give some grace about the mistake against the Caitlyn early. But another way of beating this team could be Mage's bot, right? Because you can free up your support and then roam top, to prevent these like weird picks from Hug Me from even getting off of the ground, because a lot of those champs are pretty bad when they're from behind and then also getting like focused in the game. Of course, you do need to be mindful that, or your mage player needs to be mindful they could be, getting ganks, or, getting dove. They need good wave clear and smart choices. But again, congrats to Team Yippie, and for sure, Hug Me is the MVP. I don't think you're going to disagree with me on that one. I think just solid all around.
Well, massive, massive congratulations to Yippie as they roll into the playoffs. Better luck next time, AES Nightshade, but I think you had all of the makings to get there. You just needed to find some way to deal with the weird. And oftentimes when you're up in this upper bracket and you get further and further, you've got to have answers specifically to the weird. Fortunately, we didn't have in that one. Either way, I've been your local casting cowboy, Korak, on play-by-play. Aussie has been on color. We have had Shivam on production, but you cannot forget, most importantly, this has been Titan Esports. Thank you so much.
You do like do 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 like do 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 crazy. Oh.